Hey everybody, what's up? It's just me. It's only me. In the words of Tony Miles. Alright, we need an anagram for my name. Something cool. That's a project. So what's up? No, I don't equate myself with the greatness of him. So what's up? Analysis stream. Even GM secretly watch Sladgie Analysis. Yes, this is true. Secretly, only in secret. Keep it secret. I know several, so I'm not making that up. But they are shamed to admit it. It's okay to watch me, Grandmasters, but just don't openly admit it. FMs don't even watch secretly. It's not that shameful for an FM, right, Schieberspieler? But if you're a Grandmaster, it's embarrassing to admit that you watch me. But they do. They do. But what kind of self-respecting Grandmaster would admit it publicly? You know, only in private. It's like Republicans who hate Trump, you know. They only talk about it behind closed doors. Schieberspieler's here. Speaking of good analysis stream, I don't know, guys. I think I must have COVID or something, but it's coming around. I'm coming around. I'm getting better. We've been sick since like almost a week. Snedsteg. I've got a game from Snedsteg, a game from Acerbate. Schieberspieler. Special. Guess the opening game. And excuse me. And then I've got Pavel, who submitted 2 games. One from last week. I don't know if Fedov did this, but somehow he's got 2 games. How he gets 2 games in one stream, I don't know. And then Uber driver. And that's it. I couldn't. We'll probably get more before the stream's up, but I couldn't figure out anything to put in there of my own accord this week. I didn't have anything special. Senseg we can hold off. Let's warm up with Acerbate, you know, and save Schieberspieler till there's a few players here to watch, and then you know, Nefedov always like. Well, actually, Nefedov must have something tonight because he's never here on the analysis stream nights. He must like play on Thursday nights. Uber driver might not show up either, so I expect we'll get a few viewers, and Cheapo Masterclass for starters, right. Snedstick will probably show up later. We'll do Acerbate first. Oh, Cheapo Masterclass, you want to do your game, she responded. No, thanks for remembering us here. God damn it, I thought you were banned. Don't start trolling, Fancy Chess. You're on a short leash. You're on a short leash, and you're not a subscriber. Are you a subscriber on any of your accounts? Yes, I do play on Thursdays and Fridays. There's Nefedov. Nefedov, is that why I have 2 games in my study from you? One's for Thursdays and one's for Fridays? How did I end up with 2 games? You were disappointed when I had a down week because the site crashed? Or did I miss last? I didn't miss last week's stream. Alright, so first we're warming up with Acerbate. Guys, by the way, I booked my flight for Portugal. Strong. It should be strong, you know. Not going to be easy to win the World Senior with the likes of Kirill Gergiev in the field. But we'll see what we can do. Alright. Anyway, that's so please, your donations are welcome. Porto Santa World Senior, November 16th, 17th to the 28th. Mickey's not in the list yet, but that could change. Alright. So we got Acerbate playing white. And I got really annoying ambulances. Does anybody understand the physics of sound? Because I don't. We've got really high wind in Budapest, and I live on the top of my building. Move 11, do you know anything about... You're a musician. You must know about the physics of sound. When it's windier, street noises seem louder. Does that... I mean, I never really understood why that would be the case. Is that like... I'm just imagining that? Things... Like, sounds are louder because it's windy. Does that work like that? Like, there's 27 kilometers per hour wind for some reason in Budapest, and all of a sudden I hear every ambulance, like, for hundreds of miles or something. Does anybody know how that works? We have strange high wind weather here, although it's not raining. Very high winds. Interesting. Knight f3 for Masturbate. And then black played e6. It looks like Schieberspieler playing against himself. Schieberspieler versus Schieberspieler. No, it's Asturbate versus Onius Mufak. Nice name. The search for extraterrestrial stupidity. Mufak. Alright, knight f3, e6, e4. And then I play this a lot. Black plays d5. And now what I would recommend, Asturbate, is that you refrain from playing this exchange variation, which is pretty lame. So if you want to play this move order, you should play knight to c3, the best move. Or possibly a type of advanced variation with e5. Yeah, Asturbate plays knight f3. He started with b3, and then he modified it. Yeah, he modified it to b3. He modified it to knight f3, b3. Move 11, yes. Wind direction can carry the sound waves more efficiently. Turbulence can scatter sound waves. Increase the distance they travel. Temperature gradients can bend sound waves downward to the ground. Mr. Slowhand subscribed to Tier 1. Yes, he's back. Mr. Slow, where's your game? Oh my god. It's been so long since we saw Mr. Slow, we forgot to add his game. Alright. I'm back, you're back. Mr. Slow. Mr. Slow. Mr. Swindon. Mysterious Mr. Slow. Alright. Mr. Slow. Oh no, it's Mr. with an MR. Merslow. Merslow. Oh, I'm terrible with the keyboard. Decisive games. Oh, this is ironic. It's a Ferentos game, and I just did a Ferentos Nesmedinov game for an instructional video the other day. Nesmedinov Ferentos. Now we're gonna see Ferentos versus Planinch. Okay, no, not at this moment, just a little later. Hello? Screen. Chapter PGN. Copy. Alright. Vidmar Memorial. Milan Vidmar. Copy. Alright, tools. Learn, study. Learn, study. My studies. Secret study. Grandmaster's watching. Alright. Paste. And then there's this new thing where, and I add a game to the study, you have to refresh the page for it to show up. That's totally new. Did you study the crazy game, Queen takes f6 of Nesmedinov? I don't know. Probably, but I don't remember now, you know. Emmer Slow. I don't remember now. No, I'm trying to do, you know, I did the series of Nesmedinov games, and I'm trying to do games that people don't know, you know. Nobody wants, and like this other noob she makes like a video of like Polugievsky Nesmedinov. I don't want to do a video about a game where there's like 500 people who did like YouTube videos about his most famous game. That's stupid, you know. What are you, some kind of noob? Who wants to make another video about the most famous game the guy played that there's like a million examples of it? So I'm trying to like dig out, you know, I like to dig out games that like that aren't well known, you know. Jesse Cry. Yeah. Well, then we've got multiples. But alright, I added Mr. Slow in there. We'll put him in the middle of Nefedov. But Mr. Slow should be earlier, not later, because he's got to get to work. We need him to get to work tomorrow. We got a donation. Mr. Slow has tipped $13.98, rounding it out to a level $15.70. I bought my plane ticket today, and Mr. Slow will be happy to know I'm supporting the German economy by flying a Lufthansa. So we'll be flying Lufthansa by way of Munich and Frankfurt on the way back to Poland, yeah, to Portugal. So I know the German economy is in trouble, Mr. Slow, and I wanted to do my part to, you know, to thank you, and help your country find its path back to the right direction economically. So anyway, but Mr. So, thank you seriously for your donation. He's subscribed for 60 months. Schieberspieler gifted a sub to Fancy Chess. And I've had good experiences with Lufthansa. I mean, I flew a lot with Lufthansa. Maybe they've gone down in quality, but I think that can probably be said of almost all airlines. So, alright. Anyway, we're back to Asterbait. Asterbait's knight f3. Thank you, Schieberspieler, for the gift sub for the troll. Alright, knight f3, e64, blah, blah, blah. Asterbait plays exchange variation. You're going to end up playing exchange variation. There's no dynamism in this exchange variation. That's the problem, Asterbait. Symmetrical pawn structure. It's hard to create a dynamic position. d4. Now black plays you know, a move I want to try to play is like c4. But black can play d4, and I think it's probably, well, I mean, what would this be? It would be a reverse Franco Benoni after d3. I tried to play bishop d3, and I don't think it went well. Actually, if you want to be interesting, you know, c4, but okay, d4, and then black plays the slightly unusual bishop g4. Probably not a bad move. Hype Train, move 11, gifting tier 1 sub to the community. Hey, you've given a gift total of 418 in the channel. Yeah. We even got FMs tonight, not just secret grandmasters. FIDE masters openly admitting they watch my stream. It's unbelievable. Bashir Spiller has a special for us tonight. That's our feature game. Okay, so d4, bishop g4. This is early. I mean, you know, it's not such a bad move. And, you know, interesting question. The most dynamic way to play these types of structures is c4. Wow, Spassky short, 2001. Spassky was already 100 years old. c5 is also a move, right? What do you mean? c5? Everything's a move. Of course c5 is a move. But, okay. We're just responding, like, a little bit quietly. h3, and, well, black has a problem. Because here you're on the short bus, and if you take here, you've given up your bishop. Though I don't think this is that bad. Look at the score. 4 draws. So, the thing about bishops is that they like imbalance in the pawn structure. And so if you have a totally symmetrical pawn structure, in many cases it's not such a bad thing to give up a bishop for a knight as it would be in a more dynamic structure. So the punishment here isn't that great. Magnus could probably grind someone down with very accurate play. But, no, in these cases, look, Renzo Montavani, Bilikov, pretty good players, but they couldn't win with white, you know. I mean, so anyway, bishop e2 is a little bit passive. You're playing like you're black. Bishop d6, and you know, so I think that black has active bishop. Your bishop plays passively on e2. Black's bishop is active here on d6. So black's already like maybe a tiny bit better. And I don't like the exchange variation. In case you didn't get that. Castles, and now I don't know. It depends on where you want to put your king with black here. Can black try to castle queenside? Yes. So Alexander Alekhine famously castling queenside in the exchange French. Probably the biggest promoter of that, I guess. But I think it's also kind of overrated, you know. In my experience, the whole idea of castle queenside on the black side, I know what Schieberspieler plays the French occasionally. Maybe, but not really too much. I just think that the whole thing about castling queenside is a little overrated. You see here the main move is knight e7. What's knight e7 versus knight f6? So if you play knight f6, I think that's got to be a good move too. I mean, is there really any reason? Maybe it's about the e5 square. You know, if you play knight e7, you preserve f6, and you can kick outpost out of. You kick any outposted knight off of e5, for example. You know, oftentimes we put the knight on e7 in the French defense with the idea that if white's bishop on d3, it's on d3, you can trade it off with bishop f5. Here black's already put the bishop on g4, so that's not really a consideration. Yeah, exactly. What he said. You know, so Schieberspieler pointing out exactly. Knight e7, usually you put it there so that bishop d3 can be mapped with bishop f5. In this case, both these bishops are already developed, so that's not really the reason necessarily. I think there are other reasons, though. Like I said, the ability for the f-pawn to move forward. But I would imagine that this is okay, you know, for black too. So he plays knight f6, and then Acerbate immediately jumps into e5, and that is a minor drawback of the knight being on f6. Now, if I take, and the knight will get hit, this exchange should be a good one for black. So Acerbate, but what can you do? I mean, you don't have an advantage. You do not have an advantage with white. You're equal. You played the exchange French, you got nothing, but you're not worse. But I think this e5 square is an interesting idea. It's a Pillsbury, like, you know, outpost for the knight on e5. You said, okay, you're trading off your good bishop, so that's a kind of success for black. But in a sense, you know, we've got this thing where the knight's on f6. So if he ever tries to take with the bishop, his knight's going to be kicked off of f6. There's also a threat of bishop g5. And obviously that Schieberspieler would also understand is one of the leading reasons why people are hesitant to put the knight in f6 in a French exchange. It might get pinned, and it's difficult to get out of the pin without playing, you know, like g5 or something, or retreating the bishop back. So if white gets to play bishop g5, black's going to be in a bit of a quandary here. So I expect black to castle. There's 2 games. In both cases, black castled, but the move that scares me for black is this, because it's difficult to respond to that. How do you get out of the pin after bishop g5, right? It's not so simple. You know, do you really want to play g5? Not really, but you might have to at some point. And you can't rely on knight d7. because of knight d7, queen d7, and in many cases your king side will get messed up. That may not be fatal, and that might happen in some cases, but it would be better to avoid that. So we see the drawback of knight f6 here. Astrobate, I think this is a good move, but you should, if he castled, you should know to play bishop g5, and I would go with that. And you probably are at least equal, maybe a little better. But instead, black was, okay, he was worried about that probably, with the queen in the line here. There's a check on b5. But we could no, he has c6. Alright, this is important. This defends laterally here. Queen d5 checks c6. So what do we do? So he made a very sensible move. Spieler's like, what? Listen, I think when Astrobate first started playing, like 6 years ago, and I was streaming, I think he actually did play the exchange French in the beginning, if I remember correctly. So he's falling back on his roots. Rook e1 looks like as good a move as anything to me, although, yeah, I guess objectively you should still consider this pin very seriously. The only thing is that it looks like black might be thinking about castling queenside. So I think this should be seriously considered. Actually, you're threatening bishop takes f6 here. So he probably does have to do knight d7. But on knight d7, what's he going to do? Take your queen? Okay. Take your queen. So rook e1. That's why rook e1. Alright, first rook e1. Now what? Now there's this. So black, panics. Well, Blackburn played the exchange French. I was going over a match. Steinnitz's peak was between 1870 and 1890. There's claims that he was 2800 strength, but I mean that's like too much. But he was number 1 or number 2 in the world. In 1865, Steinitz played Blackburn, and these guys were very boring players, no flashy games, right? The exchange French was like the word, that was established like main line, man. Everybody played the exchange French. He had some barn burners with Blackburn. They thought that like opening, exchanging pawns opened the position. Who wants a boring closed game? So rook e1. Black panics and plays bishop takes e5. And so now we have a question. Black's king is still in the center of the board. We have most likely more space after pawn takes. Queen takes is boring, and you're never beating Spieler in this endgame. I don't know that white can really lay claim to an advantage after that. Queen takes. Okay, maybe white has some tiny advantage, but you have to take with the pawn. No! You took with the queen. I can't believe it. Spieler said even he wouldn't trade queens here. Exactly. Even Spieler wouldn't trade queens here. Take with the pawn. You have a space advantage. Some chances for e6. His king's still in the center. You can open it up with maybe c4. You have bishop that has a lot of scope. It's not really a bad bishop, because the pawn may not even stick around. It could go to e6. It's a totally good bishop. This is a huge mistake. And now Spieler would draw you with ease. But the guy doesn't trade queens. Wow. He didn't trade queens. So the question is, which way would Astrobate have recaptured? The super boring rook takes, and then king d7, I would guess, and then bishop g5, and then knight c6 doesn't work. So black is in some trouble here. Black's in some trouble here. He has to be very, very careful. Wow. Yeah, only king f8. So this is actually more than I thought. White is considerably better there. So he can play knight c6. This is a good move. That was a good move. That's best. No, this is a very good move. He has to play this. This is totally the right idea. So Astrobate messed up. You take with the pawn, and you're better. Queen takes is nothing, and the guy, wow, 1600, he finds this. He's an odious Mufak. Odious. Move 11, thanks for the gift sub. So much for the hype train, but thank you. Yeah, this is fine. Black's fine. All right, moving along now. White messed up, lost all, most of his advantage. Knight takes here, and then bishop g5. Okay, good try. Now black has to be careful. You could also consider bishop f4. You could and should also consider bishop f4. How do you meet bishop f4? Because now there's a threat of bishop takes c7. It's probably not that big a deal. Here, and then maybe like rook c8. And we can take this guy on c2. We'll take the guy on c2 with our rook. Unless we can trap it. Boom! Da-da-da. Astrobate had it all planned out. Trapping it with knight a3, but not sure. Knight e4. That's a close line. So bishop f4 is very interesting as well. You played bishop g5. How positional? And now black, isn't Schieberspieler. It's just an ordinary dude. And if you're gonna allow your pawns to get doubled, then what would I or Schieberspieler do? Well, king d7, right? Because the king must be centralized for the endgame. If you're gonna let your pawn structure get shattered, then let it get shattered. But there's no sense in playing h6, which has no constructive value whatsoever. This is like, I want my pawn structure shattered, and I want to lose a tempo doing it. That's a really bad move. You do have to consider other options, but this loses. Takes and f3. So what the heck else can black do? Extreme chess moves. Outside the box network. What do you think, Schieberspieler? Would you play knight g8? You would, wouldn't you? I would. I probably would. You'd have to seriously consider this move. I mean, because we could, the damage isn't permanent, but it is going to be a little tricky getting those pieces out. What's the evaluation? Wow. Knight back to g8. Double exclam. Triple exclam. White is better by 1/10 of a pawn after that. Even Emery Tate couldn't win this position. Unbelievable. Schieberspieler would have found that move. Backward retreating move. We're there all day long. So anyway, take bishop g5. Your opponent couldn't find it, and now it's just like Capablanca is playing white. So where's the knight's path? Here or here? Knight c3, knight e2, knight f4. Knight c3 threatens knight takes d5, but more importantly, where is it going? Oftentimes in the exchange variation, the knight is kind of dead on c3, Astrobate. Here your opponent blundered. He has to play c6, stopping not only knight takes d5, but also knight b5. So your knight is obstructed. That's why Joseph Henry Blackburn had to do like knight e2 all the time. It's swinging over. It's swinging over to the other side. It's a Mexican-French exchange. No, but anyway, this is over. It's sweet and short. Black is clearly worse, but can hang on with c6, but instead he plays rook g8, losing immediately to the super subtle knight takes d5. And now he's losing pretty much everything. Aspie goes for the rook. And now, Black has to trap that knight, so he finds it. And Asterbate, beautiful move, knight c7, very aesthetic. Very aesthetic. And now a6, the knight looks trapped, but it's not. Boom! Rescuing the knight. It's a rescue operation. King takes c7, knight d5, check. King d6, and then grab another pawn. Yeah, this is easy. And I like f3 too. I mean, allowing that king to come to the center. Beautiful. What do you think, Schieberspieler? I mean, he's like a different player. This is what happens when you watch my stream. See, if Schieberspieler had been watching my stream more, he'd be higher rated than me now. Okay, king c5. Sorry, bad joke. Look, we're both suffering from rating poverty. All right, at least I'm not the only one. I take joy in other people's sorrow. King c6, rook takes f7. My friend Joe, who hasn't played in a tournament in 10 years, is 1 rating point higher than me. Or 2. 1. I think he's like 1 or 2 rating points higher than me. Because he hasn't played in a tournament in 10 years. And that's how he got to be higher rated than me. So Schieberspieler, what you can do is just wait. Just wait like 10 more years. And you too can be higher rated than me. Okay, rook f5 check, king c4, and then the self-mate, nice one. Check here, and rook a5 mate. Alright, that was a great game, Asterbate. Not a lot of strength from the opponent, but good technique. Look how well he played. No weaknesses with his pawn structure. Just very efficient. All the pieces came in the game. Great job. All right, next game. Setstig's not here. We're gonna do Schieberspieler. I think Nefedov gave us the impression he's not gonna be here. He's going out for the tournament night. And brown beers after. So let's do Schieberspieler's game. Like I said in my stream title, even GMs secretly watch Sladgie Analysis. Well, that's based on facts. That's not just propaganda. It's both. It's fact and a little bit of propaganda. But it's factual propaganda that GMs secretly watch Slaggie's stream. This one does not. Snetsnake's not here. Snetsnake. How would we know? Alright. No one here but those bots. So, the legendary Zhigalko Sergey, Blitz and Bullet, online Blitz and Bullet genius. If you don't mind, Snetsnake, get your whole family watching my stream, because I don't have enough viewers. They took away all my bots or something. So you guys just get your family members to turn on their computers and watch my stream. Okay, this is Schieberspieler versus Zhigalko from a Blitz tournament on another chess site that shall not be mentioned. So, guess what Schieberspieler plays. We're all expecting knight f3 and exchange French. But what a choice. Schieberspieler with e4. He does occasionally play e4, but I wouldn't expect it against such a strong opponent. When we play a strong opponent, normally we go back to our usual stuff. But I know what the history is, and I guess Schieberspieler wanted to surprise Zhigalko, probably, but also maybe he's just playing e4. So Zhigalko playing black. I think that Zhigalko has a fairly wide repertoire. I never played him personally. Okay, c5, knight f3. Black plays knight c6. Here, Schieber could definitely play bishop b5. I would think stylistically, the Ras Lima would be good for Roland. For those of you who don't know, because he's been away for so long, and he no longer joins our stream, Schieberspieler FIDE Master Roland from Hungary is quite a good player, and we played many games on my stream. But he hasn't been around, so the newer viewers don't remember him. Okay, Bishop B5. I think this would be good for Schieber normally, but he plays an open. Okay, C takes D, Knight takes D, Knight F6. We're forced to play Knight C3, and then Jigalko plays E5. You know, and so now again you're like forced. The other moves are just scams, so you have to play Knight B5. And now on D6, I always used to play Bishop G5, but you know I'm leaning toward this Knight D5 now. I got to admit, like, I think the Caruana is onto something here, and it's probably not Caruana. I mean, it's Stockfish. It may be that Knight D5 is objectively the best move, but I think that most people know the traditional lines. You know, this was always considered to be the second choice for white. And, you know, it's only really since the Caruana Magnus match that Knight D5 started to threaten it, you know. Maybe it's the best move. But anyway, alright, main line, traditional Sveshnikov, Bishop G5. Now black has to play A6. Hold on a second here. 25,000 games, yeah. Have to play A6. And then, now you have a choice. So, mainly Knight A3. Yeah, if you play Bishop takes F6 first, I guess that's slightly inaccurate. Occasionally black will play Bishop E6 here. That's known to be like a sideline that's not considered as good. Though it's always worthy of going back and taking a second look at these variations like Larson used to play Bishop E6. It's always useful to go back and look at the sidelines that may have been like discarded, for example. Anyway, so Jigalko plays B5, and then we got the really rare move now from Schieberspieler. Schieberspieler, I don't know if you saw this like last spring, not this year, in 2023. There was a funny thing that happened. Like, Banus lost the game at Reykjavik, where some Indian grandmaster like sacked his knight on B5. But I guess it's not this position. What am I thinking? Is after Bishop takes F6? In this position? When did they do the piece sack on B5? When is that? Anyway, it was funny. The guy played this line that no one ever plays, you know, and somehow Banus got confused and lost. I mean, that's ridiculous. But you played Knight A B1, so this is I might have played this once on an experimental basis. There's another weird move you can play. I think here you can do just an idea. You can also play Knight A3. Not A3, yeah, Knight A3. You can play Knight A3. Oh, you played that against Anand in your simul game? You're talking about Knight A3? Yeah, that's another idea I've seen. Similar. Right? The legendary Ripunj Anand simul game. Bishop G5, A6, Knight A3, B5. Now Knight A B1. And so this is like something new, I guess. But it's not a bad idea, you know, to try to take such an experienced player like Jigalko out of book. And so it looks like it worked, because here he played a move that's never been played much. everybody plays bishop e7. And, Zhigalko sees a4. Oh, a4, okay. No, a4 is another move. So Zhigalko sees a4 as a threat, I think. I mean, it feels to me like rook b8 is an answer. He feels threatened by the possibility of a4. Oh, okay, Banos did the same thing. That's funny. But I mean, maybe it's not an accident. I don't know. Here there's a game. Bakro Alexienko from last year. So, there's a couple of games. This has been played, but, the sample size is very small. I'm sure that rook b8 is reasonable. It can't be bad. The question is it necessary? So, a4 anyway. So here the point is, I'm expecting black would play b4, but so you're telling me that's not good because of knight d5. Well, the rook wouldn't be open here. If here bishop e7. Oh, this is the game. Oh wow, this is the game. So you're actually following that. Rook b8, a4. So check this out. This is surprising to me. I also expected b4. The game here is an ancient game. Zoli Varga against Mircea from 2006. I mean, that's almost 20 years ago. This is absolutely ancient. So, I mean, who knows the circumstances of that? But, I mean, the point is, like, this guy wanted the Romanians. There's two Romanians with black. Romanians like taking, so the rook is open, but they don't care about their pawn structure. But Zhigalko cares more about his pawn structure, so he plays the move I expected. Now you play knight d5, and then bishop e7 is basically, well, I don't want to say bishop e7 is forced, but what other options does black have, You can't get out of the pin otherwise, and you're just going to double down with bishop c4 or something. So this is obvious. And so the question is now, what do you do? What's your plan? Taking on f6, right? It's like a normal, it becomes like a normal bishop takes f6 style position. Yeah. Spectacular Camel subscribed to tier 1. Camel toe. Oh, I thought you said camel toe. You said cement toe. Close. Is there space left for analysis? There is, coincidentally. You do have another option, but it's probably not good, right? This is lame. Knight takes e7. It's not right. The knight is very strong, and we want to keep that. So bishop takes f6, and now bishop takes f6, and then, now you have a choice, in my opinion. Wow, you just gave birth to a successful hippo. Yeah, so here Sheba Spiller feels, I think, for a good reason, that he wants to get developed. So puts the bishop on c4. This is a blitz game, by the way, for all of you, that are wondering. So what is that? 3 + 1. Strange time control. I guess the 3 + 1 is meant to limit, the ability of cheaters. The 2 seconds they can do anything. With 1 second, it's not so easy. So this is an interesting decision. We're out of theory. So, very logical move, bishop c4. The other moves don't look good. I mean, this is a lame square, but it's playable. This is also, kind of lame, but it secures e4. Honestly, you could put the bishop on any of the squares. I guess this doesn't really make a lot of sense necessarily. So bishop c4 looks right. you could see like knight a5 possibly. I don't know if I trust that, but it's an idea. The normal idea in the Sveshnikov would be to play something like this, trading off your powerful knight on d5, right? Or bishop g5. Oh, we got a game. So if he plays bishop g5, we transpose to a game from last year with some Hispanic guys that I don't know. I don't know who these guys are, but they're 2300. Bishop g5 is the normal move to play. And Jigalko just castled. So castles is okay too. This move, like check, takes, queen h5, looks kind of dangerous. So I don't really like that. But bishop g5, you know, I would expect you might have h4, right? Sort of don't know if there's anything here, but almost. But remember, this is a blitz game. Knight e5. Right. This bishop isn't normally placed here in those knight e7 lines, so you don't normally have that kind of threats with queen h5. He's got to be careful. Still, I think this is a reasonable try. He plays castles. This is safe. And now we've transposed. There's actually a couple of games. And interestingly enough, all of them were played pretty recently. This is a good player, Jurčik Prihoda, an old grandmaster. So Jurčik Prihoda, Czech Republic, 2023. Castles. Well, castles makes the most sense. And then black played a5, and a5 is a move, but it isn't strictly necessary. So I think that I like Jigalko's move. It's more flexible. Bishop g5, and bam. So we transpose to some real games now. Chagayev versus Nodierbek. Look at that. Chagayev, Nodierbek, and Demchenko Nispianu. And even a third game with this weird guy who was on my team 2 years ago for one game, and then he left. Alright, bishop g5. By the way, I quit my team, Schieberspieler. I'm done with them. But I'm not. I quit. I also quit playing chess in the morning, so I'm not going to play Hungarian Team Championship at all. I've retired from morning games. No mornings. The new rules for Sladgie are no mornings, no little kids, and no 2 games a day. You know, so anything that like fits in those parameters. I will not play little kids. I won't play in the morning, and I won't play 2 games a day. If I can play and fulfill those qualifications, then I'm willing to play. Alright, so bishop g5, queen d3. You followed my one-game teammate and your chick Prihoda. So queen d3. You didn't like the idea of him trading off your knight, but you like the idea of taking his pawn. The materialistic development. Snagging pawns is one of Schieberspieler's favorite things to do. It's a 3+1. Knight a5. Bishop takes a6. I just have weird fantasies about something here, but probably nothing. Yeah, the 3+1 though, it's important because it means you can't absolutely play for the clock. It's a great idea. You know, it's better than 3-0. No clock, playing for total clock garbage. You know, it eliminates that, which is good. So he plays a5, losing the b5 square. But like now Schieberspieler has a dilemma, you know. Well, yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing. This Garrido guy played c3, and it's very understandable. And this is a really big debate now for Schieberspieler. c3 it's controversial. It looks obvious, but I mean, you know, so does knight d2. If you play c3, your pawn structure replunge gets like shredded. Schieberspieler likes pawn structure. So pawn takes pawn, pawn takes pawn. Now you have two isolated pawns here and here. It's nice to control the d4 and the b4 squares, but you know, 3 players out of 4 played knight d2. But I agree, like this is an interesting idea. When he takes, if he takes, you take with the pawn. This is a nice idea. That looks very promising. You could get a kind of crushing outpost, and this bishop on g5 looks really bad. I mean, what is that bishop going to do? So it does seem like white is better, and he went on to win this game. Knight a3. I mean, it's probably a draw if you're like a computer, but it does look better for white. On the other hand, like, you know, this isn't obligated. You know, black isn't obligated to take on c3. But I think it's important to note that you have some positional threats of like bishop b5. You could say, like, switching position of the bishop to b5 is an idea. Anyway, like, this is a blitz game, unfortunately, so you just played this, and someone actually took. So the old grandmaster make lazy move, but I think he's a GM, Prihoda. But, you know, okay, how bad can it be? You know, bishop takes d2. It's probably reasonable. As I pointed out, there's some cases where that bishop on g5 is the one bad piece on the board. So this isn't such a ridiculous idea. But you know, you're playing Zhigalko. Zhigalko wants to win, so he's not necessarily going to do that. He plays king h8. This is a new move. But that's a more aggressive move than the other guys. One guy went to trade on d5, the other guy traded off his bishop on d2, and you know, so Zhigalko wants to play for a win. He plays king h8, he's got the classic f5 or g6 and f5, and so he says, I'm going to do the f5 thing, Schieberspieler, and I'm not going to trade pieces. He knows not to trade pieces against Schieberspieler. Right. So now Schieberspieler got to worry about f5. I think c3 is still really a good idea, but maybe this first. And now black has some legit questions. Like, do you want to do something like force things with bishop g4? Probably not. That bishop's too good. So he goes with f5. You know, on the other hand, I think here maybe black has another possibility of just playing bishop h6. Maybe this is the problem for you, Schieberspieler, in my opinion, is that your knight on f3 isn't really well placed. I mean, it can't go anywhere from here. So you could do like h3, knight h2. I mean, so what's going to happen? After knight f3, bishop h6, what are you going to do? c3, f5. You could play a lot of things. h3. Oh, knight e3. Someone mentioned knight e3. Well, that's a possibility too. I'm just saying, this is a serious consideration. Bad bishop, yeah, maybe. but bad knight too. You know, your knight isn't so great. What's it doing? You know, is the bad bishop better or the bad knight? I mean, knight f3 is not great. I would say the position is like equal. What's the computer say? Yeah, it likes your knight e3. Whoever said knight e3 gets a gold star. Knight e3 and white is better by 1/10 of a pawn. But equal is a good approximation. He doesn't care. He plays f5, and Schieberspieler is like, oh man, I'm there, I'm trading. It's like South Park. I'm out of control, exchanger. Schieberspieler, it's a 3-0 game. 3-1. What are we going to do? This is what I tell you guys. Don't play blitz chess. Play real chess. I'm an out-of-control teenager. I'm trading pieces. But, I don't know, man. Schieberspieler, you got something here? With knight takes g5, do you really want to do that? That, you know, that bishop is this is the what we see here, boys and girls, you know, seriously, this is the key to the position. Right? This is the key to the position. That's the difference between white's position and black's position. He has a bishop pair, a dark square bishop you don't have, and you have 2 knights, and you have 3 pieces that can attack the white squares. If we trade these pieces, then everything isn't more of like a balance. You know, if you want to win, you bombard him on the light squares, and you know you outnumber him, and you kill him on the white squares. If he wants to win, he kills you on the dark squares or with like the bishop pair. f3 is really bad fancy chess. I mean, maybe you have to do something like that. I don't want to play f3. But I think Schieberspieler is right about the e4 square is super important. And I think that's why the computer wanted to do, well, objectively, you know, it wanted to do knight e3. So if we go back a minute, this type of move is a prophylaxis. In retrospect, you know, this would have been a better move as a prophylaxis. Although black, you know, obviously he could play g6 and try to play f5 anyway. Or he could take, you know. So there's lots of possibilities. Anyway, so it's tough. I don't know what I would do here. I'm very torn about this exchange because you're developing a piece for him. He has this very active queen now. You still didn't address e4. Do you have something crazy like f4? Because then this looks dodgy. The dark squares are very dodgy. Here, e5 square. Do you want to move the f pawn at all? You know. So this is tough, but I think I'm skeptical of this. Okay, and so now you played. Okay, so I see what you're doing here. You wanted to just take on f5. Well, this is probably the best move, because what else can you do? Oh wow, the engine. Wow. So yeah, you've got to worry about everything after that. If you increase the tension here, the computer does that. Okay. Well, this isn't that different from the game, you know, where you took on f5, but obviously you also have to worry about f4. You have to play f3 now probably. You don't want to allow this. So, and if we play f3, you're probably okay. You know, this is not a problem. Rook f2, it's like a King's Indian. But I can understand you wanting to avoid that. So you took an f5 yourself. The problem is c2 pawn and knight on d4. And you have a tactic. Wow, a tactical defense. Queen e3, so your knight can come back and protect c2. And meanwhile, his queen's hanging. So Grandmaster doesn't want to trade queens. But does he have like queen h4? But he wanted this because he wanted to keep an eye on this. But I'm not that enthused about it. He has this idea too. But I thought maybe he should keep his play on the dark squares. Like this might be important. Because now your bishop's hanging, and he's threatening knight d4. So maybe you have like f4 now. This would get real sharp. So queen h4 is probably best. He goes here. And then that queen also can get, geometrically. This is better for the queen in terms of its position versus this knight. It's dominating the knight. If you put the queen on g6, you're asking for all kind of knight forks and stuff. He knows that, but it's a blitz game. So he plays queen g6. You played c3. This is not about the pawn as much as controlling d4. Black exchanges. You recapture with the pawn. You end up with an isolated pawn, but you're controlling this square. He can get his rook in on b2. He does. And, well, black's active. He's active. And you have two isolated pawns. So it looks, on the surface it looks good. But I was wondering about this. Don't you have bishop b5? Oh, you probably saw this. Oh no. Oh no. Schieberspieler. That was what he was hoping for. Oh no. Oh my god. Oh no, my knight. This is exactly what white could blunder. Rook takes b5? That works too? Well, that's kind of fancy. There's no need for that. Just play bishop b4. You're winning a piece. Shit. Okay, well this is Schieberspieler's favorite theme anyway. Trading queens. And this guy is allergic to trading queens. So he played queen h6, which is actually a good move. But now you have time. Defend. And, yeah, look, Ma, no more threats against g2. And now, black played bishop c8, which, it's a kind of weird choice, but where do you want him to go? Objectively, I would think, like, e6 would be the best move. Right? Probably. I mean, he could still be theoretically better, even though the material's even. You do have two isolated pawns. It's probably not really better, but the rook is fine. But he decides to play bishop c8, which has the disadvantage of, like, okay, disconnecting the rook from going to b8. I mean, is he going over here, really? I don't think so. With bishop e6, you're not forced to do anything. You'd have a lot of moves, right? You could go here. Well, I mean, you have a ton of moves. Now you really have bishop there, and you'd probably have to move his knight, And then it's a game. But he's migrating over here, and I'm not liking this. So maybe bishop there is not a good idea. I mean, bishop e6 fights for control of the center. So it makes a lot of sense. You could play a lot of things. Maybe you go here, I don't know. Bishop d5. But I mean, on paper, You have good control of d5. Maybe you should just play rook d1. We were talking about rook d1 earlier, right? Here. Yeah. You target the d6 pawn. That makes sense. You're threatening rook d6, right? No, this looks right. You've got to be careful with f2, but you have pressure against d6. If he trades, it's a fork, and he's losing d6, and black would be in trouble. So, yeah. All right, anyway. He goes here. Yeah, I guess that's the problem. You know, from his perspective, not only is he keeping d6 protected, but he's also got this awkward rook lift. Rook a b1. Schieberspieler reminding me of Karpov. If you get anything in his zone, he just trades it off. Totally Karpov, like defensive style. You put anything in my zone, it gets exchanged off. And then we start, you know, rook takes b1. Black, you know, he didn't want to see rook b6. Rook b1 was a good exchanging move. And it also takes away the pressure against b2. So it looks like now Schieberspieler is not worse. And if you're not worse, there's a chance you're better. You guys heard it here first. Remember that. Write it down. Dude, nobody crossed 2800 fancy chess. Except for Kasparov. I mean, what are you talking about? Who, you know, it's ridiculous what you just said. Okay. So, Queen f6. You're like comparing ratings from 1987 to like now. I mean, it's totally different. So, it's hard to cross 2800 when there's no freaking players over 2700. I mean, this is ridiculous. Rook takes b1, rook takes b1. And white's a little bit way better than we were. I'm saying it's like 0.1 better for white. All right, I'll cut it down to equal. Wow, you're a lot better. Wow. I put too much faith in black's pawn structure. The three islands is three islands. There's both sides have 3 islands. So does he really have a better structure? He has a duo. Pieces look reasonable. I don't think so, Spectacular Camel. I mean, what's Fischer's max rating? You know, how do you get to 2800 if there's no one over 2700? All right, rook takes b1. Rook takes b1. Queen f6. I wouldn't have thought you were that much better. I don't. It's possible. I didn't think that Fischer got that high. Maybe. I'm not going to talk about this. Repunch started this. Distractionary content. Nobody cares about ratings. We're analyzing a great game here. And he brings up the subject of Karpov's rating. Okay, h3. I didn't realize how much better you are. You're up like 0.7 or 0.8, 0.9. h3, this is time. Very sensible move. This is a critical part of the game now. You guys are too lazy to think about chess. Stop with the soap opera crap. I mean, if you want to talk about that, you know, go watch one of those chess girls. I'm in the midst of analyzing a very interesting game here. Tune in or tune out. So, Schieberspieler reversed his disadvantage, and now he's like much better according to the computer, but I wouldn't have thought it was that much. Black now retreating with 97, but also there's possibility of this. How important is the B file? This is the point, the key moment in the game where he takes over control from from a strong grandmaster. He was worse. Now he's better, and we'll see how this Schieberspieler. See, rook b6. He vampired him, you know. He did the vampire. He took away the opponent's active pieces, and now he's just sitting on him with a little threat. Look, oh, my d6 pawn. You can't do anything. So knight f5, playing right into white's strategy of trading pieces. You know, okay, what's he supposed to do? Takes, and now the bishop gets off the ridiculous c8 square. And now objectively, I would think this is a draw. But somebody's going to lose a pawn. Yeah. So Mr. Slow says d6 pawn is more weak than the c3, and the b file more open than the f file. So it adds up to almost a full pawn advantage. I'm not sure about this, though. I mean, do we have anything better? Knight e7, rook b6. I'd like to trade queens. I mean, Schieberspieler must have been looking at stuff like this, trading pieces himself. But this knight is so stable here. So it takes, and I think this is a draw. But black has two liabilities. Two theoretical liabilities. White has two theoretical, really, liabilities. But that's just theoretical. What in reality, like what pawns can be captured? Obvious move now, h6. Because he doesn't want to get back rank mated. He wants his pawns on dark squares. Schieber, pawn on the wrong color, but it doesn't matter because this bishop is so strong on d5. That's like the strongest bad bishop ever, with the pawn on c4 and pawn on a4. Absolute monster piece. And, you know, black is like, oh, I haven't really done anything wrong. I guess bishop d7 needs to be considered. But you have a very nasty surprise. This would get really scary for black. If you have to take here, and Schieberspieler has like this, this, and this, all of the above, probably rook takes d6. But I'm not sure, you know. Which way would you play this? Remember, they're getting 1 second additional every move. And these guys can play fast. The computer goes to c6, but it would have been a tough judgment. So he sees this. You know, he's a very strong player, especially in blitz. He sees the problem. He plays queen e7. I mean, I just wish there was some kind of lever with c5. You get him in a mating net or something. And now queen c3. This f2. He just like lost his pressure against f2. So maybe he could have defended in a different way, but not easy to say how. The c5 is a serious problem. I mean, this would just as much lose the pressure on the f file. So queen e7 here, and now sneaky, very sneaky. Then you've got to look at c5. But it's just, there's nothing here. Almost. It's just an almost. Unless you have rook b7. Does this work? Oh my god. This might work, you know. But, you know, maybe he has his own tricks. c5 looks pretty strong. Yeah, rook c8. but you got him in a really nasty place. Maybe queen f3. Because we're gonna have mating threats. So I'm saying if c5, what'd you say? If takes, rook b7. Yeah, we're coming here. No, I mean, it's like really deadly. Queen on e5. You don't need queen g3. So it would be like rook c8, queen f3, rook takes c5, queen takes f5. Oh man. Rook takes c5. And then you have this. Then you would have queen e7. Oh no. So he's like just barely hanging on by a thread. Possibly here. No. No, he's lost. Oh no, you have rook b7. Okay, I cheated with the computer. The rook takes c5 doesn't work. Stop cheating with the computer, Fancy Chess. We know you're cheating when you're putting like numeric like evaluations in there. So, alright. Queen f3. But I could take a big pawn. No need for all this. Oh, okay. So no need for all this. Beautiful win. He takes a big pawn. Black plays bishop h7. But what the heck is that? Oh, no. Bishop h7. If you're going to play like bishop h7, why not play something cool like, I don't know. Why play bishop h7? Why not like bishop d3? Probably you could take that piece and win. Okay. I don't know. Play bishop b1. That would be subtle. Bishop h7. Oh, I'm not threatening anything. And now, so a big pawn to Schieberspieler is decisive. And now black doesn't want to trade queens. So queen c7. And now, oh no. And the problem is if he goes here, you have just like rook e6. I mean, maybe he could still put up some fight. He can still put up some fight here because your a pawn's hanging. Still, this is a check. No, this is no. This. Look how well centralized Schieberspieler's pieces are. Bishop d5, queen on e5, and rook on e6. f2 can't be attacked because e1 is covered. You're threatening rook takes h6. It's really crushing. So it's difficult for black to defend. I mean, it's +3. And his best move is queen takes e3. So queen c7, queen takes e5, and then that's a killer. That's 2 pawns and it's a big one. That's a big pawn. You need 2 big pawns. Queen c8, he's totally busted now. Queen c8 is like just giving up. I don't know. Yeah, he doesn't know what to do. Instead of queen c8, he should play like queen b8 probably. Why not queen b8? He needs to try to focus on the dark squares. But I don't think it's going to matter, you know. It's not going to matter. He's totally lost now. Yeah. Queen c8 here. Oof. That's 3. 3 pawns. Rook takes h6. Oh no, he played queen c5, allowing the beautiful tactic. Takes, check, king takes bishop b4. And then rook f5. Good job, man. Nice win. But you played control chess. You know, the opening was a little shaky. But the important thing was, you know, you did the Karpov vampire stuff. And, you know, first eliminate the threats and then pounce on the opportunities. All right, good job. Thanks for submitting the game and coming to see the stream today. I got last minute submission here from Sack Draw. Okay. No, that was a good game. I mean, it's not often we get to see a good quality game in 3-0, 3-1. Although 3-0 would have been a lot worse. Obviously 3-0 would be a different game. 3+1 makes a big difference. But I don't know why it has to be 3+1. I mean, honestly, the FIDE standard like blitz time control is 3+2. Why make it 3+1? Okay, like 3+2 is like over the board with the clock, I guess. So online it's 3+1, whatever. All right. Yeah, I'm trying to add this chapter PGN. All right, what's next? We spent a lot of time on that game, but it was worth it. Okay, copy, learn, study, my studies. Yeah, you're welcome, Shieber Spieler. Thanks for being a subscriber. Future Grandmaster, Shieber Spieler. All right. You got a better chance than me, man. Let's do this. Well, actually, if I win the World Senior, I can still become a GM. So, I'm adding learn, study. Did I take the wrong game? Did I just do that? Add a new chapter, paste. This better be the right game. Please be the right game. Did I just... Chapter 8? Are you fucking kidding me? What is that? Dude, bro. Chapter PGN, or just do copy PGN. Alright. Delete chapter. Add a new chapter. Here. Paste. And then I have to refresh. Shoot, okay. Thanks, Sack Draw. Alright, guys, that's enough games for today. I'm a little under the weather still. So I'm not going to go beyond that. I'm going to get a drink of water here. It's very, very brutally humid or something. I'm still suffering from COVID or whatever I have. Not fully redeemed. So I might need a whiskey a little later. Or Palinka. I have really rough Palinka from Transylvania. If you want some, Shieber Spieler, you can come over and get some. Hazy Palinka. I don't really think I'm gonna be doing Red Dead Redemption stream tomorrow, but maybe in the future. I haven't played Red Dead Redemption since like 2 months. It's funny how Red Dead Redemption became like a cult success because it was such a fail in the beginning. No one liked it, and now it's like you see a lot of people streaming doing Red Dead Redemption and stuff. All right. I am COVID, don't know, whatever it is. I'm dehydrated very easily. So alright, Snedsteg, we've been waiting long enough for Snedsteg. Snedsteg is white. I'm gonna try to kick out some more games. Stream tomorrow normally. Friday, Blitz, noon, high noon. We have Friday, high noon Blitz. Saxectra has tipped $6.02. Thank you for making it random. We're at 1576.02. That should drive some people crazy. That was 43 minutes ago, but I was in the midst of analysis. Alright, Sensei playing d4, e6, c4. F5, and then G3. G3's the best move. Although, no, maybe not. I mean, these moves, this knight C3 is interesting. I think part of the mythology of, I think one mythology of the Stonewall Dutch is is that it's bad to play knight c3. You know, knight c3 is bad in the Stonewall Dutch. Nobody say anything? What are you? Sergeant Schultz? I bet Europeans didn't get to see Hogan's Heroes. One of my favorite sitcoms. Well, not a sitcom, but anyway. Oh, if a German sees a Dutch, he gets quiet. Well, we really are in Hogan's Heroes. We're making jokes about the Germans. Okay. You know, it's funny, the actor who played Colonel Klink in Hogan's Heroes, his father, I forget his name now. The father of him was Otto Klemperer. His father, Werner Klemperer's father, Otto Klemperer, was a famous composer. And there's actually my kid's school. My son's school has like a plaque or something devoted to Otto Klemperer. Anyway, weird random stories that have nothing to do with chess. So c4, f5, g3, knight f6, bishop g2, and then bishop e7. Well, if you want to play the Stonewall, there's two possibilities. Well, there's three, as you can see. But I think, you know, the question is c6 or d5. I'm gonna need a whiskey or something. So this is one possibility. This is one possibility. And this is the third possibility, but this is old-fashioned. And this move, if black knows what they're doing, then they shouldn't be playing the Stonewall after this. Black should go for a Simon Williams. But your next move is just not good. You know, bishop g5 is weak. Theoretical novelty. You know, that's the type of move like you would see sometimes in the Catalan, but here it's very random. This obviously, you know, it has no real effect. You're beating a dead horse with bishop g5. Ultimately, you know, the only good thing that could come of this is that black maybe plays h6 and weakens his kingside, but in many cases black doesn't mind doing that. So bishop g5 is really bad. You have to play normal moves. I do wonder about this, though. You know, I don't know what the status is of that move. But I don't really like e5 that much. I'm not sure black has to do that. You think it's annoying? Yeah, I guess. Karpov didn't seem to mind, but he drew. It's a simul game from 1997. Joe Pesci. Juha Helpy. I played poker with Juha Helpy. No. Yeah, okay. Anyway, it's a random move. So anyway, bishop g5 not good. Castles, knight f3. And then d6, and then castles, and now black plays knight e4. And shockingly, there's games here. Knight e4 looks good. So people have actually played bishop g5. think that move was promoted on InfoWars or something. Bishop g5 is like an Alex Jones type of move. No, it's just nothing. You know, it's lame. But I mean, I guess objectively, you got to ask yourself, what are Black's other options? The one move that's obvious that hasn't been played is h6. But maybe he is looking at takes and playing for e4. Freeze Nielsen. Now we're serious. Now Freeze Nielsen has a game. J.O. Master of the Kraken. Then you know you're playing a serious opening. Knight c3, e4. After knight c3, maybe black plays d5. Black wasn't up to the challenge. I mean, e5. Okay, anyway. Yeah, of course you could come back. If you were like Schumacher, would probably play bishop f4, inducing knight h5 or g5. I don't know. I never liked playing bishop f4 in the Dutch with the pawn on d6 or the Leningrad. Only in the Stonewall, and this is not a Stonewall. Though I agree that you could induce h6 and go back to c1. But I mean, I'm not sure that h6 is a bad move for black necessarily. Okay, this is safe. Takes, takes, and then what? So knight c3, it's a Nimzo structure. We would mess up our structure, so play knight of bd2. The other move is obviously possible. Here, you're transposing. Black plays knight c6. That looks like completely logical. Pressuring d4. And so now white takes on e4. But I mean, should you really do that? I have a bad feeling about this. Because I'm going to take like a 2-minute break. I'm going to unpleasantly like blow my nose and take a bathroom break for like 2 minutes. And then we're going to be right back. Just a sec. Alright. Be right back. Yes. All right. Pardon. So, what I thought was, you take on e4, you move your knight. I didn't consider you might play knight e1. But I thought maybe you should defend d4 first. Did anyone suggest e3? Spieler is talking about that move. Uh-oh. 138 to 38? If you donate 138.38, what would happen, Asterbate? Just asking for a friend. Yeah, guys. So, I didn't even think of d5, Spieler, but my thought was like he takes here, and now, are you going to go here and keep this protected? Or, I assume he's going to play this, and then trade these pawns. But I didn't really want to do that. This seems like you would let black... It feels like that would let black kind of have an easier time. It doesn't seem right to me to trade. That move, looks like an option as well, but I thought just here, maybe this isn't so great either. Or, you have other options. You could play queen c2 or something. But then I start to get worried about these, pawn sack type of things. So you like Sensei's idea. Well, there's a couple problems with Sensei's idea. A couple problems, right? So knight takes e4, pawn takes e4, and knight d2. The first problem is what happened in the game. Second problem is, do you really have an advantage after knight takes d4? I want to get, without anybody, like, I admit I used the engine before. Repunch didn't appreciate my joke, but of course you guys can use the engine, whatever. I was using it. I had just turned it on when I said that to him. But seriously, try to figure out what would you think about this position, because I don't think that white has much advantage here, I mean, something maybe, but not much. This looks like a Gingy Blitz game from 1997, where it's like, Roman, don't hang your queen. He'll win somehow, but he doesn't really have an edge. There is a little edge for white. On the plus side, there's really no risk to this continuation. So, okay, I accept that answer, but now we get the critical test, d5. So now, black needs a couple moves to Steinitzeify his position. Interesting thing here is another question: is black threatening anything? Because my first temptation is to play e3, but is this even necessary? So say I play rook c1. This isn't really a threat because of knight takes e4, with a position similar to what we were just looking at. So you have a lot of options, but you don't want to live forever. This pawn needs to go. Obviously f3, e3, knight b3. I don't know if I trust this. So we might need to play e3. And then you got to worry about this and in here, among other things. So the situation is very complicated after this take. But I mean, this move is really wow. Great idea, but I mean, come on. I'm having like a deja vu to some other game I saw recently. Can you really do this? Oh, Yabatis is here, right? Yabatis had this game where he retreated his bishop back to c8 with like tension in the center. b7, bishop back to c8 in a Queen's Indian or something. This is like, wow. I mean, I know this is a normal idea, but it looks a little extreme here. I mean, I like it. It's a normal BOGO. It feels slow. It is slow. Can black do anything about it? So black plays the following move. That is reasonable. Only because he gives his knight the square e7. I would think black would want to play this, but there may be tactical problems now. I mean, yeah. So knight c3, putting pressure on homie center at d5. This is legit. This is legit. So maybe black needs to do something dramatic here. Dun dun dun. If nothing else, you know. I mean, this is kind of what he did, but he put the knight on. He put the knight on e7 by playing queen f6 first. And then here, you have to give credit for not playing too recklessly. Dude, most of the people that play chess on the internet are maniacs, you know? And it's the same in poker in a lot of cases. There's way more tendency to go to the maniac side than on the passive side. They just haven't had the shit beat out of them enough, you know? That's the truth. If you play like a maniac, you're not playing strong enough opposition on a regular basis. So I had an idea. Okay, so e3. Wait, queen f6, knight c3. Okay, good move. Ah! Queen f6, knight c3. Good move, putting pressure here. Can black play something other than he's got to defend the d5 pawn, or take, which is bad. But the thing is, like, if you play e3, he has knight b4. When his knight goes back, he's not going to have that option anymore. This may not be necessary either. Pardon. But after this, you know, he can probably try to hang on to that square. So, solid move. Okay, now black needs to prioritize, like, getting this out immediately. As you need to prioritize destroying his freaking center, and you do. f3. No, this is well played. Queen h6. And then I didn't think you were going to do it this way. You continue to surprise me, but perhaps strong. I expected, you know, some kind of keeping the tension here. If knight f5, rook a e1. And I do want to caution you that I've had some games where, you know, this sort of thing could come into play. So, you did this, giving up the e3 pawn. This is a very dramatic change in the position. King h1, I wouldn't be sure about whether to do that. Rook takes f1, and now, you know, you're going to lose this, or lose this temporarily. But here's this typical stone wall where you achieve e4. You've basically refuted the stone wall. Well, no. You've refuted the Dutch, essentially. If you achieve this move, you've refuted the Dutch. The only thing is, you know, can he just catch up in development and negate your f-file and whatever? So, he grabs the pawn. I need to see your driver's license. Oh! Can I suggest maybe c takes d5? How's black's development here? Good? Things fine? Maybe should have played c takes d5, but it's easy to miss this move. This is a nice move. E takes d, and then rook e1. Maybe he shouldn't have even taken the pawn, right? But still he's going to be in danger. You're going to take here. So bishop d7, take. This is also very dangerous. Black probably loses a piece. So yeah, he's in a lot of trouble. It was a good judgment. I wasn't sure if he should do this. But I guess here maybe black needs to play better. Though it feels like he's already in trouble. Queen e3 check, king h1. Oddly enough, maybe black has another way to play here. I mean, d5's hanging. This is really ugly. That's really ugly. Bishop d7. So what about bishop d7? We're going to win a pawn? You're going to take here? If you can't take, it's definitely just bad. Right. But I mean, ultimately, I've got to be honest, I was a little bit skeptical of this. My first idea was to play knight d8 and build the wall immediately. That knight might be able to go to f7. So if we play knight d8 right away, knight c3, c6, whatever, e3, I don't know what to say, knight f7, f3, pawn takes pawn. But it's okay, but at least black can play chess here. So queen f6 felt kind of weird. But, again here, this looks bad. He can't lose his center. So it's very good. You played well. And now this has got to be tried. And now, what does he do? Queen f6 loses. Queen c5. Queen c5. There's no way he's surviving. So now this, check, and then takes on c8. Yeah. Ooh, that's just crushing. Okay. Another Stonewall Dutch refuted. Stonewall Dutch loses by force. Okay, good game. Good game. Good game! I've got Pavel Nefedov, but first, the great, our second feature game, Pavel, is from Mr. Slow. Mr. Slow has work, and we need working viewers to fund the stream. So, I have this friend who likes the idea of playing poker on Thursday nights. And the problem with playing poker on Thursday nights is that people that work, that have money, they can't play on Thursday nights because, So what's the sense in having Thursday night poker game when the people with money can't play? You have to have a poker game on the weekend so that rich people with money, who work, can lose their money. If you have a poker game, who's going to stay out all night Thursday night? Just regulars or bums who have no money. So it doesn't make sense. What's the point of this story? Well, the important thing is that people like, Mr. Slow, for example, Nefedov, who else has a job? Probably Snedsteg, Uber driver. All you guys have to work. And by having working viewers who donate and support the stream, we can keep it going. If I have a bunch of chess bums watching my stream, it's nice, but I can't, earn any money to live. So, thank you, Mr. Slow. I'll let you get to work tomorrow by doing this game a little earlier. C4. This is Albin Planic. We've been going over the Planic games. Former Yugoslav, very strong Yugoslav player. G6. We're going to play a Benoni or King's Indian. Or not. It's going to be in English. Okay. So the Yugoslav players seem to really like following the Velimirovic lead with King's Indian Benoni. But now, no Benoni, E5. Interesting. This was later, well, this was a line that Gary Kasparov played, first of all. I believe. And my friend and longtime rival in New England, for many years the best player in New England when I lived in Boston. Pretty much the whole time I lived in Boston, Grandmaster Alexander Ivanov was the top player in the region, and we had a lot of games. And Alex used to play this line with black. And I actually had several games and watched him dispatch many people using this system. So white plays knight c3. Now, knight e7, I think, is the most interesting independent move. Ivanov would use this because he would play, you can play this reverse colors too, obviously. White can play it against the Sicilian. But the point is that black doesn't commit to one or the other. You might get d6, but you also might get, he would get in c6, d5 real fast. And sometimes just, build a center there. It's like a big clamp or whatever. I think this is a tricky line. Now, obviously, this just transposes to a normal closed Sicilian in reverse. That's nothing out of the ordinary. And then d6, again, the move chosen in the game is routine. This is fine. It's a standard closed Sicilian. But I do think that, I do feel like I remember Kasparov playing this line with black, with knight e7. Alright. Anyway, d6 is fine too. Black could also transpose to a normal. Black's position looks like an orca. Did anyone else realize that? The orcas. Orcas work together and hunt dolphins, it turns out. Gypsy9999 has tip 25. Wow. Not here regularly, but stop by now and then. Thank you. Thank you for, Do I prefer Streamlabs or PayPal? Yeah, Streamlabs is good. So thank you. You put us over 1,600 in our goal. Thank you, Gypsy9999. I really appreciate it. If you do it the way you did, we get credit. You get credit on the stream. But thank you. So, yeah, I'm just saying like this. This is like really we need an A6 to be the tail fin for the orca. In addition to being creative and trying to promote good quality chess content, I like to kind of joke around. Nothing like pawn structure shapes to keep our minds in shape. This is the eye, and this is it's not a dolphin, it's an orca. All right, so d6, d3, and then f5. Sorry, f5. So we got, yeah. It looks like a dinosaur now. Big clamp, closed Sicilian. So white has a lot of different options here. e3, e4, knight f3, rook b1. Acerbate. You know what funny thing happened the other day? We had a game where Acerbate played a very early f5 in this type of Sicilian setup that white has here. He played it so early. Imagine white playing like f4 without the d-pawn even being moved up to d3. Mr. Coffee was watching, one of our moderators, and he was like, Acerbate, really, f5? And I checked it with the engine Acerbate, and f5 wasn't so bad. Very extreme, but f4 also a possibility. So e4. This is actually one of the recommended ways. And by the way, I didn't mention it, but Ferentos is was like a standard Hungarian grandmaster. Not super strong, but decent, you know. And I don't know where this tournament was held. Vidmar Memorial. Okay, so this is in Ljubljana. Black to play now. The knight's best square is f6. Occasionally you see knight h6 type moves. Or knight e7. You can still play knight e7. That's the old Aserbate. That was one of his first openings. Exchange French. Knight f6, knight ge2, castle, and then c6. So you got the standard Stegosaurus. It's a Stegosaurus now. It has all these like sharp plates on its back. And then the tail's over here. Stegosaurus for black. And now pawn takes pawn. And I'll tell you, you know, I always love to play aggressively in such structures. But my rule of thumb is it's always safer to take with a piece. And I used to love to play lines like this, but there's a higher risk, I think, when you do that. Bishop takes f5 is less risky. Less pawn moves, less risk, less weaknesses. Plus you develop a piece. The downside is that white can use the e4 square. There's even a Carlsen game there. White doesn't have to take on f5. But I'll tell you guys something. Once I played Ivanov, and I was mentioning Alex, and no, I was recapturing with the pawn different situation, where you have the option of the bowl. That's with the pawn smile move 11, like pawn, 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 pawn. It's like a Mickey Mouse, you know, or Dead Mouse ears. You guys ever watch Dead Mouse? He sometimes does like game design streams. If you have the mouse ears, yeah, there's a pawn capture on f5. It's a question of whether you take back with the g pawn or the e pawn on f5. Here, that's not an option. So anyway, what I want to say was Ivanov got me real bad. Wendy, you hurt me real bad. Ivanov once did this to me, like, ooh, it was very painful. He had some kind of f4. Here, there's some games, but I got absolutely like crushed by Ivanov. In almost like it must have been practically exactly this, almost exactly this position. He just smacked me with f4, and when I took it, you know, we got knight h5'd, so it's like a positional pawn sacrifice. And if black isn't, if white isn't really sharp, you can get absolutely destroyed. So, for example, I might have done something like that. I don't remember how. It was really bad, though. I got crushed with white and in English. So you got to be careful of that. That's why Ferentos doesn't mess around with like h3. Pawn takes f5, and then, you know, again, this is the safer move, but who's here to play safe chess? Pawn h takes with the pawn, and now f4 is an option, but there's the diagonal, right? So actually this speaks to what you're talking about. Sort of like, do you want that pawn or that pawn? We're talking about white having a pawn on e3, and then playing f4 and deciding whether to take with the g pawn or the f pawn. That's the Dvoretsky pawn rule. Dvoretsky's pawn rule was, if I play f4, and I have a pawn on e3 and black takes, you take the opposite way that the opponent takes. So if I take with the e pawn, you take back with the g pawn. If I take blah blah blah. So anyway, this also a logical move. But now we have shelves. No, funny stories and talking about mammals and stuff. It helps us to remember insights. So the steppe plains of Kazakhstan. The f4 pawn sack, yeah, very, very dangerous. I don't know how I let it happen to me so bad, but Ivanov just like crushed me in 25 moves. It was a really bad version of it. Now, the point is, like, white trading on e5 isn't really dangerous. We'll just fluidly take back. So we get to some situation where white has to make a decision of what to do. I like knight a6. This is awkward because we're blocking our bishop. A. And B, the knights are redundant. So we have two problems with piece, like, coordination with knight d7. And that's why this is typically a very standard move in the big clamp, and also in the King's Indian. Kovalenko, another bad memory, getting crushed. Alright. I like knight a6. But this is interesting. So he does not bothered by, black is not bothered by the fact that this bishop is restricted. Nothing's defending the f5 pawn. Doesn't matter. If queen c2, how do we defend that pawn? Is it like a Dutch where we don't? Because this sucks in respect to, like, this squares are, it's very fixed. There are many cases in the Dutch steg where queen takes f5 can be answered by tactics like knight c5 or something like that. I don't know. And also there's our f4. Move 11 was talking about the Grand Prix attack. This is in the position, isn't it? It's always going to be in the position. So queen c2 is probably a bad move. Funny. 4 games here, everyone played the exact same move, b3. But I think that this is a danger. If h3, we still have these type of pawn sacks. But I mean, the obvious question is f4. But it's risky because now we have a protected passed pawn on e4. And if you go d5, you get, check, king h1. And now this is dangerous. This, and this can be dangerous. So my point is, like, it's not easy for white to decide what to do. Here's a crazy idea. Sack a pawn. Sack a pawn. Sack a ponda. Sack a pawn. Bob, sack a ponda. What are you going to do about that, bro? Hey. How do you like that, Planinich? I just take and I laugh at you. Pawn takes d4. Knight takes d4 and knight takes c5. I'm playing the Dutch and I'm a pawn. How about you? Right? Yeah, that's about the size of it. c5 almost works. I don't like white's score here. It's pretty disturbing. White just scored a half point out of 4, and if you add this game, white now has a half point out of 5. So that's not a very good score at the Grandmaster level or Master IM level. There's one game here where, okay, Master level, whatever. 5 games, a half point out of 5 for white. That's not good. Why so bad? I mean, honestly, like, even this capture is not so bad. We could take and play something like Gudmundur. Gudmundur played queen c2. I mean, I would think, like, these type of pawns, this is probably not enough. The exchange of pawns isn't so stupid. This may not be so bad. He beat Movsisian, the Spanish Russian or Spanish Armenian. All right, but b3, it's kind of lame. What does the computer say? a4. Wow. Oh my god. Oh my god. a4 with the idea of b3. a4 with the idea of b3. a4, a5, b3. I get bishop a3. Oh, so that's the idea of b3. But what's wrong with b3 then? Why does white lose all the games? Why does white lose all these games after b3? Damn, look at that score. A half point out of 5. That's not good, bro. So this is clearly the idea. Yeah, a4 may be to prevent queen a5. Although, I'm not sure if queen a5 is even a great move for black. Someone did play it, and they went on to win. Goldance was a GM. Yeah, a4 is very subtle. You could totally like rush the queen side, but you also have that idea. You're killing queen a5, so you get in bishop a3 guaranteed. It's a nice move. There's one other thing. You have the classic sort of like rook lift. That may seem stupid, but it might actually play a role. On the downside, this square is weak. So after b3, it looks like this square. Guess what? I wish we had our knight on a6 now. Another reason to play maybe knight a6 instead of knight d7. Alright, anyway. So we have queen c2. Absolutely normal move. I was talking about this, but I was also talking about the fact that this pawn doesn't have to be defended. Right? I said this. Knight b8. Oh, yeah. Or Astorbate's favorite, knight b6. No, this pawn doesn't always have to be defended in the Dutch. If queen takes f5, there's discoveries, like knight here. Possibly, yeah. But I don't know. Is that going to be enough? There's no substitute for calculation. 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 So, this looks interesting, right? Once I did this against my friend David Vigorito in an English, similar kind of position, and he just like took it and I lost. It was the only game I ever lost against him. It was many, many years ago, around 1994, but it's possible white just like takes this pawn and you know, that's it. I mean, it's unclear if black has enough compensation. I could just chuck the pawn, but white might just take it, you know, and I don't know. So queen e8, and now major question, right? Queen f5. I mean, you gotta show me the refutation here. Schieber Spiller, thank you. Schieber Spiller loves taking pawns, and I'm sure he would definitely want to check this out. We have some kind of tactic that I'm not seeing. Pawn takes pawn, knight takes, and knight e5 with the idea of taking on c4. Speaking of Grand Prix attack, this is very Grand Prix attack style. Classic idea in the Grand Prix attack, sacking the f4 pawn to a queen takes f4, very old line. That's possible. So queen e8, and then Farintosh is like this typical, you know, safe positional. Lilienthal probably taught him how to play chess or something. I don't know. You know, I mean, he's hanging out with Lilienthal. They're playing the English every game. They're fianchettoing their white square bishop every single game. You know, they're studying the games of Botvinnik together. But it's a little bit like, you know, safe, solid, boring. So he plays d5. And that seems all fine and good. C pawn. So now, like, positional chess kind of goes out the window. Damn. Yeah. Here's a move like I would be allergic to playing. I mean, frankly, the first thought is pawn takes pawn. I'm a little worried about some crazy ass shit like this. But honestly, I could probably sack. This probably doesn't work. So the main thing is like knight takes. Or possibly pawn takes. But I mean, this is a very surprising move. E4. It denies, it's one of the only ways of defending the c6. And it gives us a square for a knight here, but it also gives up a lot of squares. This is crazy. It's a closed Sicilian in reverse. It's like what they call the big clamp in reverse. So e4, a very like ugly looking anti-positional style move from Planic here against the you can see Farintosh is like, again, Lilienthal, very safe, correct, solid, crushes weaker players, but he doesn't want complications. Okay, we gave up this square, we gave up this square. We have this big pawn on e4. And both sides have squares for their knights. So f4. The good news is there's no queen on this diagonal. f4 is super committal. And I'm sure that it's not white's only move. I mean, there's so many possibilities here, like bishop f4. I'm pretty much confident black would have played knight e5. But is black... Yeah, black has some crazy shots. f4 looks strange. As I said, the good news is there's no queen on this diagonal. But the bad news is, now black has a protected passed pawn on e4. I've played chess with a few Hungarian grandmasters. And I played chess with one who, I'm sure, played this dude on a number of occasions. And he passed away a few years ago, Farago Ivan. But Ivan was extremely good in this type of structure. With white, he would fix the structure in the center and then blockade and then blow back up with like g4. But, it depends. Ivan was usually doing it in like classical lines, not the fianchetto. Like bishop on e2 is very different from bishop on g2. If white gets a really, really good blockade, yeah, no, I mean, I wouldn't have played f4. I don't think I would play f4. I mean, this is a total possibility. Development would be a reasonable idea. But the position is kind of a mess, I was pretty confident the computer would say that white is better. And it's only a little. But I honestly had, and still have, no idea like what I would play with white. There's too many plausible moves. I don't think that e4 is a good move for black either, but he complicates the game tremendously with e4. And, you're playing against a player who doesn't like, he likes clean positions, not complicated. So f4. And then black doesn't take en passant, obviously, because that would clarify. You could, but it would be like better for white. This is a very strong pawn. So now knight c5, and there's a massive square here on d3. I'm getting some weird challenge. Okay, so now it really looks like a King's Indian, and that's a problem. We can probably play around it to some degree, but then you've got the here as well. And I lost a few games to a guy named Igor Feugl, who played the King's Indian really well. and then you can get killed by this. I could see the G file turning out really good for black. Many lines. If white plays H3, then G3 gets weak. But it's tricky because white has control of D4. If black has a pawn on C5, okay, this is an important rule in my opinion. If black has a pawn on C5, then this type of E4 is usually stronger because there's no outpost for white. But in this type of scenario where there's a knight on C5, then white has the outpost D4. That's very useful for white. So he plays bishop E3. He can live with this knight here, right? And he could even trade it off with like knight D1, knight F2. But this is going to be a problem too, knight G4. So white isn't really threatening anything in this position. I have a kind of serious question here. What is going on with knight G4? I mean, I don't see it. Do you guys? Does anybody here? Hey, we got a follow. Asterbait is tipped $5. Wow, $5.02 for Kasparov Chess Foundation. Yay, Gary Kasparov, thank you. Somebody needs to explain to me what the heck is going on here. I'm gonna get a Palinka cold medicine. I'm gonna have a Palinka for my Hungarian friend Schieberspieler. You guys, authentic Transylvanian Palinka. Are you ready? Now that's the way we do it. That's serious. 2-liter bottle. What is this? 2-liter bottle of Palinka. Now we're talking. Alright, we are serious here. This is not for lightweights. I don't know what the alcohol percentage is, but it's very high, and it definitely isn't smooth. It's safer than drinking moonshine, but not by much. Alright. Can somebody explain to me knight G4? Because it looks really good. What the heck does white do after that move? I mean, this, you're not. This is a disaster. This is like. I'm totally okay with like triple pawns, but one of those is yours. Okay, sorry. No, this is ridiculous. The D4 square. Someone needs to explain to me what the heck is up with knight G4. Bishop D4 sack exchange. Okay, well, at least a suggestion. It's not enough. I mean, it's just not enough. I mean, in addition to the fact that like I'm getting the exchange, I have the ability to play knight D3, or I can just like stop you from playing B4. This is over. White is just completely lost. So maybe it was just an oversight, you know? I mean, no, objectively he has to try something else. He's probably got to do, you know, as crazy as it sounds, I mean, it might be that this is the best move. You know, move the bishop again. What, can we move the bishop again? I mean, is this that bad? Maybe we just like, oh, sorry, my bad. I made a mouse slip. I didn't mean to put my bishop on E3. So if you go here, I mean, it may be that it's not that clear. It's all bluster, all bark and no bite. I mean, clearly this is fine for black, but it may not win. I mean, if my queen was on D8 and I was headed for B6, I think it's over. But with the queen on E8 and no ability to get to B6, this isn't such a big deal You can always play h3. Black's very active, but maybe he's not winning. You know, maybe that's the moral of the story. I don't know. But I mean, it's very tempting to play knight g4. Let's see what the computer says. Yeah, it's up there. I mean, it's up there. It's a top candidate. Basically, the engine thinks white should take on c5. My opinion is that white is clearly worse. But it's a judgment call, you know. All right, anyway. Shira Spiller is gone. Now we can talk about him behind his back. Just testing. F4, knight c5, bishop e3, knight d3. And now, well, I mean, for Intosh, we're seeing this, but we're expecting h3 from the standard Lilienthal style Hungarian Grandmaster. No, but instead a solid move. And this is what I was telling you guys before. This move is a situation where I think the e4 pawn becomes very strong. Now, white doesn't have access to d4. The knight on d3 needs to go. So, well, we still have to worry about this. And Frintosh was reluctant. He was reluctant to play h3 because he knows that he's going to get like handed his head on the g file if he does that. h3 is committal, you know. And if you do king h1, you're just inviting this. So there's no easy answer here. White's still playing passively. Of course he's playing passively. He's a Hungarian Grandmaster playing the English in 1965 or something. It's good for beating like weaker players, but, you know, that's what I was talking about, Lilienthal Nesbedinov. No, that's what Ivan Farago would do. This is in Art of Positional Play by Reshevsky, move 11. But our control is too good. It's too good. There's no g4. Black has good control of e4. And this, you're never getting in g4. When Farago Ivan used to play the classical King's Indian, like his bishop would be on e2, not on g2, so pointing at g4, and he would have like a freaking knight on f2 or something, and then support g4. He doesn't have any support for g4. It's the right idea, but it can't be played. So I was expecting knight c1. Can somebody... I know Mr. Slow is planning on you know, sacking something. Also, gotta point out, worthy honorable mention, knight b5, there is that Bobby Fischer, you know, was it Gligorich he lost to or someone, where he had problems with the queen being placed on e8 or d7. You're supposed to like drink palinka in a shot, but this is my cold medicine. How long are we gonna live with that knight on d3? I was thinking if you play knight c1, black plays knight g4, and then if you take this, takes, and now the bishop's hanging, and there'll be all kinds of pins, you know, so you're gonna be losing material again. Yeah, it's rook b1. Yeah, he's passive. a6. King h1, b5, and now it's like, what happened? You know, there's so much for knight b5. Oh my god. Like, everything's going wrong here. b3, knight g4, h3. So he actually induced white to play h3. And then, ironically, he doesn't even take his r-square bishop. You could. But think about it. It's a closed position. And the knight on f6, like I was talking with move 11, if we keep this well protected, white can't play g4. And what is the bishop on e3 really doing? You know, I mean, it's kind of bad. I mean, all it does is blockade the pawn. Other than that, it has really no value. If it could get out, again, Ivan Farago, if it could get out here to h4, is pretty much, this is really the only way that bishop would ever pose a threat to black. The knight has more future, yeah. The only way, if I could magically teleport my bishop to h4, like I was Artur Yusupov playing the Kali system or something. Imagine if you could teleport one move. That'd be cool, right? Teleportation chess. One move every game. Nah, there's got to be some constraints, but maybe one move every game the bishop could teleport. Like, this is the teleport square, man. I'm really down with h4. If I put my bishop on h4, let's say blockade with a different piece on e3, maybe white's better. Yeah, you come off the other side. Pac-Man chess. a4. And very instructive here. Again. So, he's like, yeah, give me your knights. I like knights. Beautiful, beautiful play. Black is like hoping for this. Where the knights are just stronger than the bishops. So finally knight c1. And now this. Oh, other knight. I expected knight c3, knight 3 to e2. That would lose the a pawn. So what about g4? That's not on. Ah, this is horrible. King h2. And now queen g6. I can't watch. What does this remind me of? Like a really bad tennis match? When you know like one side's gonna lose? Whew, bro. Anthony Joshua. Boxing. Man, this is not looking good, dude. Here, here, here. I don't care about your freaking pawn on a4. Knight b4. And again, the g4 is critical. But he never can get it in. I mean, you gotta look at stuff like here, takes, f5. It's not even close. I mean, there's nothing. No way white's playing g4. Knight b4, a5, and now bishop a4. This is like crushing. Just unbelievable. Protected pass pawn on e4. And now he does sack the exchange. Rook b4, c b4, queen b4. It reminds me of when I lost to Yardison at the World Senior Team Championship. When you're losing, sometimes you see like this oasis. You think you see like an oasis, and it's just a mirage. You're desperate. You know, that's what this was. A desperate sacrifice. Bishop c2. And then what do you got? You got c5. What do you got for me? Nothing. Rook g1. This is pathetic. This is the closest white has gotten to playing g4 maybe right now. So white could theoretically be threatening g4. But not while his queen's hanging. Bishop b6. And now here. And so if I'm Printosh here, I'm very seriously considering g4, but I guess the bottom line is it just doesn't work. I just take it. You know, I'm threatening g3 check. Could you play maybe g4, pawn takes pawn, and then bishop f1? I mean, is this I think a better try than the game, objectively. Because he played bishop f1, which is no secret. And now bishop d3. And so g4 still. Black doesn't seem bothered. Well, now we have serious threats here. So knight d3, pawn d3, knight c1, and then bishop d4. Beautiful move. Forcing rook g2. Oh my god. Wow. So he's gonna mate him with knight g4, Mr. Slow. And so now it's mate. That's mate, by the way, due to white's excellent coordination. But no, it's not because of king h1. Okay, I get it. Takes, check, king h1. This is sick, man. This is like, it looks like Nesbedinov. h4. Knight f2. Takes. Beautiful game. It was almost like white didn't have a chance, you know. It's hard to really quantify it. Even though white's a grandmaster, he just didn't have a chance. I mean, I don't know when this was played. It's possible for Intosh. He had to have already been a GM. He's probably the same generation as Planinch, maybe a little bit younger. c5, and then here. Ooh, that was brutal. Just like he had no chance. You know, white had no chance the whole game. All right, guys. Again, thank you for your support. Asterbait, bringing us up to 1606.04. We got Schieberspieler. We're only doing one Nefedov game. Don't let Nefedov trick me into doing two Nefedov games. So I got, I don't know where to start with Nefedov. I'm gonna start from the beginning, and I'm sure it's the wrong game. It's so humid in here, jeez. And I hardly drank any Palinka. Pachico. So, sorry guys, I'm still not recovered from my COVID or whatever. But I'm not ready, I'm not ready to do the Drazic system. I told the story about how Grandmaster Drazic, he's like 2261 now. He cured some Indian guy's COVID by like pouring Palinka up his nose. I'm not ready for that treatment. I was thinking about it today. I should analyze Snedstag's game next. I already did Snedstag, didn't I? I didn't do Snedstag? Oh man. I thought I did. I didn't do Snedstag. That's weird. So I did use Saxite Draw. Oh, okay. Poor Snedstag. He's been so quiet sitting there, being ignored the whole day. So e4, b6, d4, bishop b7. I just analyzed yesterday. I was talking about it earlier. Stein at Zukertort, 1860 something. They had a match, and Steinitz crushed him. I think not Steinitz Zukertort, sorry. Steinitz Blackburn, not the World Championship. Steinitz Blackburn, 1860 something. They had Steinitz crushed him, and Blackburn won one game. But in the first game, Zukertort, I keep saying that, Blackburn played the what's it called? The Owen defense. He played the Owen defense. in fucking 1865 or whatever. Gunsberg did g6, bishop g7. I mean, it's pretty cool if you think about it. In that era, almost everyone played either e4, e5, or e4, e6. The French defense, it's 1800s, and guys like Blackburn and Gunsberg were playing the freaking Owen defense and the modern defense. It's pretty cool. Anyway, this is not 1800s. This is modern times. Sensei's playing white. It's e4, b6, and then knight c3. I prefer bishop d3. Okay, first of all, black can lose with f5. You know, pawn takes f5, etc. Secondly, and more importantly, on, let's say, knight f6, you can play queen e2, and then on knight c6, c3, and on e5, there's this knight f3, etc., like a Spanish. Knight c3 is is okay. Also, there's somewhat on sounds variation, like bishop d3, e6, knight c3, bishop b4, and then knight on g to e2. And I don't think that black, I don't really think that black can equalize here. This is problematic for black as well. But I don't know if I like knight c3 as much first. Black plays e6. I played this once, I got nothing. So Sensei, haven't we talked about this before? The waiting move attack? Knight e2. No, I suggested this. We suggested this, and we suggested this. And I think h4 is interesting. Check this out. h4, bishop e4, and then white messes this up. Oh, shit. Dude, h4 is... I like h4. The guy played bishop d3, but the idea is this. The Sensei gambit. But h4 is brilliant. We have like an improved gambit. Bishop takes a3, bishop takes c3, knight takes c3, and this just strengthens our whole attack. Oh my god. h4. It's so sick though. The guy played bishop b4 and he went here. But this is okay too. But I mean, this is like the point. You do knight e2. An offer you can't refuse. Yeah, h4 looks like the most useful move there. More useful than bishop e3. So you played knight f3, standard line. Here, here, here. And then you're supposed to play queen e2. The problem is the Magnus. And I had a game once that went like this, but this is not a problem. Bishop d2, or even castles. The problem is Magnus says queen takes d5. It's not that easy for white. It's not that easy for white to prove the edge here, I think. Elianov actually lost, which is going a bit far, but it's just not that simple. You know, I think that queen takes d5 brings new life to this. Who else has played it? Christian Bauer, of course. I mean, Carlsen doesn't deserve credit for this. Christian Bauer has been playing the the opening for forever. Even Hikaru has a game. Okay. But my question is this e5. You know, what about e5? Because I had a game like this. Recently. And then here. This is like a French Oddly, there's a game by Nakamura as white. He's the B3 guy. But I don't think this, I don't think this is great. That's Kramnik, but it's 1994. Kramnik wasn't Kramnik yet, when he played this move. And who the heck, expected Elvest to play the Owen defense? But Crow lost against Shekashev, and then they're sitting around playing with, Christian Bauer. But Crow clearly influenced by Bauer. Okay. So Bishop G5. It's just a sideline. It's not great. I don't want to give up the dark square bishop, man. Can I sacrifice a piece? No. Sad. Sladgie is sad. We traded off our dark square bishop. So I don't know, man. I don't think we can claim. I don't think we can claim anything here. It's equal, maybe. Black has the option to take on C3. This is a lot like a Tory attack now, what you did, basically, or even a Trompowski. I don't think that it's enough. But I mean, this move needs to be seriously considered. Also the possibility of castling queenside. So you castle kingside. Black doesn't take. Oh my god. What is he doing? He forgot to take. This is like a online blitz blunder. Yeah, exactly. Milorad, Vucevic, Turikov, all these like pseudo strong players. Strong players don't forget to take on C3 in a long game. These guys are doing this. This is very risky to do this voluntarily. Two of them played rook E8 and one of them played G6. This is going too far, Wow. Yeah, I mean that's too much, man. That's too much. G6 is ridiculous too. You gotta take. I mean, there's just no question here. Someone played Bishop F8. Okay. That's classic. But that's class. That's a class move. Look who played it. Artashes. I saw him at the World Senior last year, and he seems like a nice guy. But I mean, you got, dude, who do you think, who do you think he's drawing on here? Straight up Petrosian. I mean, Manassian is a great player. He can attack. He can attack really nicely, like in a Benoni, but he's also like playing Petrosian style. No, that's a beautiful move. An incoming call from George. Mr. Coffee's calling me. What the hell's he doing, dude? It's like butt dial. I just got butt dialed by Mr. Coffee. What's that about? Someone hacked Mr. Coffee's. Mr. Coffee butt dialed me. I don't usually leave my Skype turned on. What the heck was that about? Mr. Coffee, are you out there, man? I've never had Mr. Coffee butt dial me. That's awesome. Maybe he's trying to do like a collaboration. Let us know you're okay, Mr. Coffee. So, great move by Manassian, though. Bishop f8. I'll accept that as an alternative answer. Castle's not. And the a3, no, you missed it. Knight e2, I mean, there might be another way to play this. Knight b5 looks interesting. The alien. Knight b5? Probably not. Then queen d8. By the way, if e5, can black play bishop takes f3? Well, should black play bishop takes f3? I think it's okay. That would be double-edged. Check. King h1. Yeah, I don't think I want to do that. Anyway, guys, we'll try to focus here. Okay, I don't know what's up with Mr. Coffee. If you're out there, let me know you're okay. Maybe he's trying to get, like, emergency medical help or something. Or maybe my fly's down and he's trying to tell me. Has anyone seen Mr. Coffee? Okay. A3, terrible move, Snetseg. Why is he doing that? He wasted a tempo. D6. And now, rook e1. Very routine. Black should play e5 without further ado. I see no reason to hesitate. Plays this. Okay, this is probably not a problem. Yeah. So this is a good lesson from Snetseg. Snetseg played okay, but too routinely. So he didn't get much, if anything. The position is still about equal. Okay, it's probably a fast game. You know, we didn't know the time control. Is anybody still out there? Am I still connected? Is my camera? My camera frozen or something? Why is there no chat? Come on, come on. Show me some chat, people. Let me know you're alive. Let me know you're alive. Is anybody alive here? Is there something going on? Is there a nuclear war starting that I should know about? Suddenly, like, the chat went dead. Sladgie, after Russia launches its first nuke, just streaming calmly. Oh no, New York just blew up. No problem, I'm analyzing Snetsteg's game. Asterbate has no clue either. Alright. So, this is not a good move. You're stretched out, you have no advantage. Your only hope is that you can kind of outweight black. You don't have enough pieces to attack. Snetseg, you have the, what Kosic calls, change two pieces and she don't know how to attack. This is terrible. But I don't see why the computer's like d takes e5 is bad. I mean, okay, queen e7 is a very subtle move to find. Takes, knight takes, knight takes, d takes, queen e7, and this is nothing. Black is absolutely fine. And interestingly enough, Schieberspieler's favorite theme of trading queens is possible. Queen g5, maybe queen g3. So we want to trade on our terms. This would be favorable to black, bringing that pawn toward the center. This would be more favorable to white. We would take toward the center. Trade on your terms. Queen e7, queen f4, rook d7, and then bishop b5. So rook d7 was just rendered moot. Rook d7 was not a good move. So we're going to see how black manages to lose a slightly better position where he should have no losing chances. How will he do it? Maybe this is equal, but I don't love white's like a3 pawn, you know? You're going to have to be careful not to drop that. And meanwhile, black should have been playing for a trade of queens, taking away white's like only objective winning chances. But this was a mistake. And then boom. Takes, rook d8, boom. So Sladgie does this against me too. You know, interestingly, we've had a number of games where he doesn't play that well until things get tough. And then that's the Sladgie way. When things get tough, the tough get going. He only starts playing well when his position starts to be bad. No, rook d6 is a classic move, of course. Outpost square. And suddenly black is feeling the effects of having less space. I know what's going to happen. f6, rook takes here. Check. No. That would be a funny variation. But you know, if there wasn't a back rank mate, black is lost there. No. Oh no. No, you can take, because bishop c4 is bishop d5 anyway. Alright. Well, anyway. So what about f6? I mean, black is in a difficult situation, and I think blowing that up if black was a bomb thrower, he would find this move. But look how conservatively he's played. Very calm, nothing. Never does anything dramatic. Wouldn't even play queen g5. White needs to get rid of this back rank problem, you know? Maybe f3. But this is nothing. I mean, f6. We have a trick. Wow. Takes. The back rank is not a problem. Unbelievable. Oh no. Oh my god. So this isn't a problem? Unbelievable. What? Check. Oh my god. Bishop f1, and if bishop a6, you're lost. But anyway, alright, black's watching Ben Feingold saved him. No, so he didn't consider playing f6 based on general principles. Although it should be like the first thought that you have. This does nothing. This is really unpleasant, man. And it's not going to get better. If you don't have f6, you got to consider taking and playing queen d8 and blockading with your queen on the back rank. Can black really? I don't believe that black can survive this. This is too active. This is too far up. Wow. Oh my god. Black can hold this. Yeah, if you're a freaking computer, or if white drops the pawn on d6, but it's deceptive. I think this is... A lot of people are going to lose this position. I think he has to take then. You know, he has to try to survive this. But I think most players are going to lose this position. Magnus is going to beat a 2500 Grandmaster here with his passed pawn on d6. All right, how are we doing on time? 9:40. Mr. Slow has to go to bed soon. All right, bishop d5, queen d2. Oh no. Oh no. There's some sort of trap? What? 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 What's the point? Why is this dubious? Okay, there was a better move, but still we have a winning position here. c4. Look at that bishop. Bad bishop. Now we're crushing. Ending is winning. Oh! God damn it. Are we not winning? Mickey says we're winning. Oh, a6. Bloody hell. Alright, still might be a margin for error here. This is very unpleasant for black. I still like f6. Oh no. Oh no. Wait, what? Check! Black probably like thought about rook d6 and he just takes and takes and king f8 and he's winning. This is, I guarantee, would happen. You know, he didn't consider the possibility of checking first and then playing rook d6, and then black is lost. It's a cute trap. Guy played really, really, really incredibly solid for the rating, and now black is lost. Still not so easy. Maybe it's still within some chance of holding. Okay, takes here. I guess it's still a draw. Wow. Good move, g4. What's this guy's problem with f6? He hates f6. Why does he hate f6 so much? He hated f6 so much he played f5. I guess the problem is f6 isn't really a threat. Wait, we'll just ignore it. Okay. f5. Rook a6. Oh no. Why didn't we play f6? My god, dude. He'll have to take on g4. I like tripled pawns. Rook a6, f takes g4, chop, king f5, rook c6. Black still holding. Entertaining position. King takes e5. How many pawns do we have left? So it's comedy of errors. Check. King f4. And now white's going to get mated. I have to play king g2 here. I'm not really into getting mated. Then we lose our a pawn. So a4. And then black obviously plays the logical move king f3. What could possibly be wrong with that? Always threaten mate in one. Double question mark. So after rook a3, it's a draw. He plays this to play for mate, and then check. Not the best move. King e4. Oh no. And now he still has king f4. Oh my god. It was a nice game until the end game, and then they both started to make mistakes, but it has to be time. There were never so many mistakes in this game. It's just blunder after blunder. Time pressure. There's no timestamps. g5. It's just blunder, blunder, blunder. Alright. Well, anyway, I mean, it was a good game while it lasted. But the weaker player collapsed in the end game, you know, which is pretty standard fare. Alright, Sheba Spooner is done. It's time for Nefedov. We got Nefedov, Uber Driver, and Sexac Draw. No, we did Sexac Draw. So Nefedov and Uber Driver. Alright. And that will do it for me, because I've got the freaking COVID or whatever. And guys, what's up with Mr. Coffee? Mr. Coffee, hello. Where are you? Mr. Coffee, let us know you're okay. You don't want like us to call 911. You better send him a message, Masturbate, on lichess, see if he's okay. So Nefedov against Alex Eaton. I know Nefedov submitted another game, but we didn't do this one yet. Or we did. Oh, maybe we did. We did? No, I don't remember this. No. We didn't do this. He had a different French. All of Nefedov's opponents play the French defense. I mean, I don't have access to a COVID test, but a friend of ours just tested positive. She works at like a nursery school, and I guess they test people, but most people don't get tested. But I mean, it's common in the U.S. Whatever it is, it's like, it's got to be pretty serious, because I couldn't get rid of it in like 5 days. I thought it was nothing, you know. I would hope by a week I'll be better. I don't think I had COVID. Right. Well, my son, I feel really sorry for him because he's older. He's 14. But my son thought he gave me the virus, and he had something else. And the poor guy, like, came in my room the other day, and he's like, "Can I have some of that drink?" And I'm like, "Are you sure? Because I'm sick." He's like, "Yeah, I'm immune. Remember, I must have given you this thing." And then he drank out of my drink, and then, like, today he couldn't go to school because he's sick. So, you never know. Like, I mean, he made a big mistake assuming he was immune, and he was the first one who had it. He probably just had allergies to some cold and thought he had the same thing. Don't drink out of COVID patients' drinks. Alright. But younger people seem to have better chance of getting better. So I hate this for black. You know, I can't say it enough. But I was thinking move 11. Oh, now you're positive, move 11. Okay. Are you positive? You're positive? You said you were negative the other day. It's like a Seinfeld. I haven't had a vaccination in like 2 years, so it's Hungary, you know. We don't really keep up with that stuff unless it's an emergency. Knight takes e4, knight d7. Anyway, I just wanted to emphasize that the Rubinstein French sucks, and I feel bad for Rubinstein that this move is like associated with his name, because I feel like it's actually kind of a misnomer. But Asterbate, no recommending drinking bleach, okay? Gargle and use a neti pot with palinka. I do the palinka neti pot. I remember Rubinstein clearly playing the Byrne variation, and I think it would be more accurate to call that the Rubinstein variation. He didn't necessarily like just taking on e4. I'm sure he did, but I felt like the Byrne variation was more appropriate to be named after him. But this is a disaster for black. Only George Meyer can play this shit. Knight takes e4, and it's crazy, you know? It's crazy to play this for black. I saw another funny thing. Someone asked me to take a look at, and one of my students asked me to take a look at Chessable and tell them whether this course they were thinking about getting was good. And it was like about the Caro Khan. And I think it's a good course. It was like Irwin Lamy, like masterclass on the Caro Khan, which I don't have a problem with. That's fine. Okay, fine, whatever. You know, make a masterclass on the Caro Khan. That's all great. But the funny thing was, like, under the reviews or whatever, Irvin Lamy gets like John Gustafsson or something like that. Jan Gustafsson. There's some kind of like, you know, bit about how great the Caro Khan is for playing for a win or something. Yeah, the Dutch dude. And I'm like, man, you gotta be kidding me, you know? You're recommending, you know, you're trying to sell your Caro Khan course, but that's bullshit, you know? To recommend to people to play the Caro Khan for a win with black. It's a great winning attempt and all this stuff. It's like, that's bullshit. the Caro-Kann is passive, and it's a good way to try to play for a draw with black against a strong player, but it's not like a dynamic, I try to play the Caro-Kann for a win with the, come on. It's ridiculous. It's totally not a good choice. Better than the Rubinstein French. But it's, marketing. So, the only way you can play the Caro-Kann for a win with black is if your opponent is someone psycho-aggressive like Shirov. And then you can play for a win because your opponent goes nuts, But if you have an opponent who's not going to go nuts, you can't play for a win with the Caro-Kann. The Caro-Kann is like an opening where you play for a draw. And that's it. And the Rubinstein French is worse. It's like the Caro-Kann, but worse. Because you can't even get an equal position, probably. Knight d7, knight f3. This is probably black's best line. I think the worst is the Fort Knox, probably. You tried doing 2 cents. Oh no, you tried to put in your 2 cents worth. There's a minimum. The minimum sac draw I think is like $1 or something. Thank you guys. But don't play the Rubinstein French. Maybe that was why Mr. Coffee was trying to butt dial me. He was playing the Rubinstein French. I got him to stop. I have one friend who plays Rubinstein French, Kosic, and he's the master of pretending he's George Meyer, but here, and then slightly unusual move order, but I guess this is fine. Bishop g5. You give black maybe more options, so mostly it's knight takes f6. I like, this is Nefedov playing white. I like this, and then induce h6 and come back to e3. And if knight d5, bishop d2. Speaking of Alexei Shirov, see? Who can lose with white against the Rubinstein French? Who can lose with white against the Caro-Kann? I know who can lose. You guys know who can lose? How do you lose with white against the Rubinstein French? I'm playing the Rubinstein French for a win with black. Check out my new Chessable course on winning with the Rubinstein French. If anybody writes that, that's bullshit, man. You're lucky if you get a draw. And you have to be like George Meyer, and you have to spend your life evaluating 30 move variations where you're hanging on by a very, very tiny margin in some, deep 30 move variation. And then lose anyway because your technique wasn't good enough to hold it. That happened to him. That happened to George Meyer, I think against Ivan Saric or something. Played a 30 move variation, all analyzed at home, and he couldn't hold the ending. Yeah, it's really worth it. So, Shirov is the only person capable of losing with white here. Alright, so bishop g5 gives black another option. See, here, so now you did knight takes f6 check, which is apparently the main move. I've never played this move order that white chose here. One other thing. Well, okay. The other, no, I mean knight f3 is standard. Knight f6. Is there anything else worth mentioning? No. But I mean either bishop d3 or knight takes f6 check. I mean those are the two main moves. This is a little bit unusual. So now what do? We would like to avoid exchanges of pieces. So the problem is, like in the Karo Khan, I mean, this is lame. You know, like your knight is just lame here. You know, what are you going to do? Go there, maybe there. Who played that? You know, Chernyshov. Knight c3, okay, it's also not a great square, but maybe it's playable. This is probably the best of those three moves. You could play knight c3, though it's slow. So Garry Kasparov Anand, okay, knight takes f6 check, knight takes f6. Well, I'm glad black played, but if he plays bishop takes, see, that's the thing that bothers me. I don't really want to trade more pieces. So here's our question. I had a game like this this week. I'm going to play h4, queen d2, bishop f4, probably too slow. So h4, queen d2. But that move, that's the best. This is a way better try. I mean, black has to try to trade pieces. This transposes back to a normal line. And now, so it's all about c5, trying to get in c5. And I don't know, we need Kosic on a Portish Petrosian, 1974. Yeah, well, I don't know about castling, because if you castle queen e2 and castle queenside, and your king can get wrecked. Black should play c5 as soon as it's possible. So d takes c5 seems to be some sort of problem here. Magnus Carlsen Ulf, 2006. I know someone else who played Magnus that year. Check, c3, queen takes c5. So the queen takes a... This is also Carlsen Ulf Anderson. Queen takes a natural square. Hans, 2021. Fire up the engine, boys. Magnus did not play queen e2, but that was 2006. Alright. So castles committing to kingside, queen e2, and now b6. Oh no. This actually happened? Are you guys serious? Nefyadov's opponent just blundered the classic. How is he like? How is Nefyadov playing this guy? What do they have him paired with, like a 900? That's the biggest trap in this opening. Double attack. h7, a8, queen e4. They need more challenging opponents for Nefyadov. Boom, and it's over. We're losing a whole piece. We're getting mated. The rest is just a matter of technique. Maybe that's why Nefyadov's sent in a second game. This is horrible. Like a filler game. Please wait. It's like one of those games where the tournament director like didn't have an even number of players, so they just like got some beginner to play with Nefyadov. Ugh. He kind of gave black a little bit of chance here. It's almost like Nefyadov's toying with him. Sadistic. Now he's really being sadistic. Seriously? Watch this. Nefyadov, you're serious? This is over the board? He plays this? He doesn't like queen his f-pawn. He's like torturing the guy for not resigning on purpose or something. Alright. Let's move on. We've got Uber Driver. The next game we'll do next week. Poor Sladgie is sick, and it's late. It's 10 o'clock. Nefedov, we'll get to your next game next week. This is the last game. Uber driver. I gotta wake up and do the stream tomorrow. Alright, Uber driver is black. Oh no. So Uber driver played d6. And I told him to play the Kraken, not the Philidor. So the point is, knight f6, and then white's supposed to play knight c3, and then we play a6. Uber driver's a believer in the Philidor with e5. I think it's better to play a6 to avoid theory, and there's a lot of interesting unexplored territory there. But I will say that if you play this online, this Peart's move order, the amount of people that do bishop d3 is staggering. It's just staggering. I mean, I never get anyone doing like f3, which is objectively... Everyone thought I was torturing your opponent. So did we, Nefedov. But I think you were justified, because he should have resigned. At that point, if your opponent's age is over 8, I think you're justified in slow rolling him and torturing him there. Just for not resigning. I would make like 6 queens. But if they're under the age of 8, you know, I think it's okay. Then you know, they didn't know better. But I think you were justified in torturing them on purpose. Black had no threats, and you just went over to the queen side anyway. Yeah. Oh, there was a theoretical possibility you could play c4 and... Yeah, right. You're queening your f-pawn in like 3 moves. You know you have that. Anyway, white plays bishop d3. I get this every single game. Every single game, everybody plays bishop d3. It's so annoying. And now, because I got bored, I played every possible variation of ways against this. The most interesting one I've come up with so far is c5. Sorry, not c6. c6 is stupid. c5. I had a fun game. I'm hoping to transpose to a c3 Sicilian, but I had a fun game where this happened. And, you know, it's really weird. It looks like this is the best move. And now e5, c4. It's very unexplored. Anyway, that's just a suggestion for Uber driver if he gets bored with doing the same old stuff. I also played a lot of games with knight c6. This is also a good move. Rockport big on knight c6, obviously. Then you get like c3, and I've had games where my opponent played knight f3, and this is really interesting. If knight f3, then knight b4. And I think Magnus, somewhere I saw a Magnus game. Oh, yeah, he didn't play knight b4. Interesting. Magnus doesn't know the Kraken move order like I do. So knight b4 is technically the best move. But it's an idea I borrowed from the English defense. So that's why this is technically better for white. c3 stopping knight b4. Then we play e5. And then I've had this position with Schieberspieler. But here I haven't played a6. And so I know that wasted move a6. Anyway, this is Uber driver and playing the Philidor move order. Okay. White's best move is fill in the blank. Can I turn this off? The best move is, you guessed it, it's got to be c3. But maybe Uber driver's not here, right? There was a master in Boston, and he moved to Virginia. Larry Tapper. I'm going to be in North Carolina, not Virginia. Larry used to play the Philidor and knight f6. I was wondering about this. Is this a thing? You can do this? Yeah. Svidler Morozevich. So I don't know if UberDriver intends to play that. This is obviously not the only move, you know, but it's an interesting move. If white plays c3. So your opponent played d5, and this is gonna transpose, it feels like. So long as white can play c4, and support that advanced pawn, white's setup seems reasonable. But I think white has to be careful about not overextending themselves, and I find that a lot of e4 players ultimately don't know how to play this type of structure. And move 11, I've talked about that with you. I don't know if you're still out there. If your COVID has affected your consciousness. Mr. Coffee, you bot dial me again. So e5, d5. So c6 is the most combative move. Compromising chess. My friend Bargazoli lost to Almashi, and Beliavsky played it. Same year I played him in 1999. Yeah, I mean c4. And now if you really want to play uncompromising chess, then I guess b5. They got that from the aforementioned Joseph Henry Blackburn. Blackburn was nuts. And I guess that's what happens when you're like a checkers player turned chess player. Think about this. The most interesting players were checkers players like Nesmedinov and Blackburn. When they played chess, they were absolutely creative. Alright, anyways, last game for today, guys. Quiet setup here for UberDriver. So I don't know. Bishop e7 feels a little too passive. I would go with like g6. G6, you know, sometimes you can even, you know, if you're lucky, they play c4. You might even be able to pull some kind of trick on them if they play f3. If you're really lucky, you get a foigle trick where you play like this, f3, knight d7, bishop e3, and black plays like bishop h6, and then takes, and queen h4 check, and pick the dark square bishop up. But anyway, okay, this is very safe, but passive. h3. Okay, h3 is reasonable. Oh my god. Yeah, I don't know if I would have played this, the following move. Very interesting. But UberDriver king castled. Opponent still in the center. Very interesting. So I think here I probably would have played c6. My opponent would have played c4. We would have transposed to a game here where black did play like the very combative b5. And I've had games with Nefedov like this. Looks like one of my games with Nefedov where Nefedov was black that I remember. There's like take, 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 and then here we need some sort of tactic. Where's our tactic? We don't have one. Well, there are tactics. They're funny tactics. Like, imagine this tactic. Or, how can we do this? Takes, here, f5, bishop c2. What we need to do is this somehow. But a lot of possible tactics. Uber Driver goes with a very interesting move. Knight takes e4. And yeah, I get it. I have an idea. So bishop takes e4, f5, and now of course you're forking him when he goes here. You know you guys ever watch The Grinch? That's Little Christmas. The Grinch is like, I have a Grinchy idea here. This is really insane. What do you guys think? It's too much. It's too much. We're gonna get buried with bishop h4. Yeah. Here. Death by bishop h4. It's too much. No. He has knight e4 there. We'll have to modify this. Let's look at this a little deeper. g4. Triple exclam. Emery Tate would have found it. I knew Emery, and he loved a good g4. Yeah, e3 was possible, but also not. Maybe not decisive. Let's check it out. If g4 takes knight d2, e3 right away. Yeah, but I mean, again, it's murky. Here, what do? We have to take. Knight takes, bishop h4, bishop e3. White's getting away. This is wild. Sorry, computer is not seeing g4. Doesn't have Sladgie intuition. I can save time with my intuition. Okay, maybe this is best. It's the most sensible thing to do. But I'm curious about g4. It's like martial arts. Can you try to turn this around in some way? My idea is to secure e4 permanently. It's probably not good enough, but let's check it. Takes here. And then, here, here. And now that's locked. And this is locked. And you can't play bishop f5. Is it enough? Probably not. But it's also not easy for black to challenge the knight on e4 because of the pawn on g4. And you can reinforce it with like knight c3. And you can defend that with that. So, I don't know, man. I mean, this looks kind of interesting. The computer is going to calmly refute it. The b5. Ultimately, this is also... I'm getting a little too creative. I'm on my second Palinka, but what I want to do is enforce A, creative play, B, playing for the initiative, White plays this, e4. Now if you take... Yeah, White played absolutely the most solid conceivable way here. Uber Driver ends up playing like a weird kind of Al-Yaqin defense or something. I don't think that black is worse. I mean, I don't think that white is worse, but I'm not sure black is better. If that makes any sense. But let's see what the computer thinks of g4. Ta-da! Apparently it loses. It thinks it loses. Okay, show me. It really likes your e3. There must be something extreme. Holy shit. I think I lost my mind. Yeah, I guess I thought like white was up a piece here or something. It's too much. It's too much. Yeah. Alright. But overall, Uber Driver equalized. And then you get to this position where, well, I think it's going to be hard for both sides. Instead of bishop h4. Well, this pawn in f5 is weird, but it controls the e4 square. On the downside, the d4 square is kind of weak. But I'm seeing a knight getting the e5. I like the e5 square for black here. And you've got a wedge. You're also threatening f4. If you stick your knight on e5, nothing can get it off of e5, and we can play f4 like Ivanov in the closed Sicilian. Well, no, I mean bishop g5 is good as well. Yeah, I mean, I don't think the computer is going to go for Uber Driver's plan. No, it does. Wow. It does. It likes it. Well, I mean, you destroy the enemy center and you effectively equalize. But I think this is more combative. I would choose c6. So the Blackburn style. It's more dynamic. You create total chaos and imbalance in the pawn structure. I'm not making that up. I mean, like, Blackburn really taught me that, because originally I learned chess looking for some prime. Absolutely. Prime time. And downtown. My first J theory. My first fundamental thinking about such positions is that as a King's Indian player for a long time, I know that you're supposed to attack the pawn chain from the base, at the base. So essentially we're supposed to play for f5. c6 attacks the pawn chain at the head. And according to Nimzovitchian theory, it's wrong. The problem arises when you can't attack the base. Your knight is on f6. So the only way to attack the enemy pawn chain is c6. It's like playing f6 in the French defense. The question is knowing when that's okay and when it's not, you know. What I'd really like to see is this dude, you know, do something stupid, like, okay, h3, castles, knight c3, c6. Now he can't support the pawn. J theory subscribed with prime. We got a guy who can't support the pawn chain with the pawn now. You know, so it's not that great. We can put pressure on that here, just taking. Thanks J theory. So h3 very bad. Knight f3. Okay, routine move. Knight takes e4 equalizes. Takes f5. Bishop d3. And then e4. And yeah, he did the right thing. I mean, the white did the right thing, and Uber Driver equalized with black. Now we get an interesting position. Bishop takes f3, knight d7. Absolutely. You're not interrupting. That's cool. I appreciate it. White's a long way from getting a knight on d4 and into e6, by the way. So this is going to be... It's more like a King's Indian or a Dutch or something than a Philidor. Yeah, this is weird. So castles, and then boom. And now white plays. I mean, the move that white really wants to take back here and never should have been played is h3. I mean, seriously, I didn't really talk about it, but it's like, what was white doing? You know, like, why did he play h3? It just looked like a normal thing to do. Because, does anyone understand this move? Bishop e7, h3. I mean, if you had like a million moves in a row, I guess h3 is okay, you know. But it's like you're playing move 5 of the opening. I mean, black is playing passive setup, right? But it's compact. He's getting his king out of the center, and then g4 may be his plan. But if you do that, you know, you got all of your pawns on white squares. Look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 pawns. 6 pawns on white squares. 6 out of 8 moms prefer GIF. Because they like to weaken their dark squares, you know. And they want their bishop to have like minimum mobility. So the white square bishop will have basically it's an octopus. I call it the amputated octopus. H3 is a stupid move. It's bad. I mean, there's no justification for this. It's terrible, actually. So, all right. Anyway, blah 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 blah. We get to this position. White's still okay. He's equal. Boom here, and then bishop e2. Now, this is where the game starts. White has a beautiful space advantage in the center with d5, by the way. And everything else, barring everything else, white would be better. Yeah, when you think about it, f4 is automatic. Never say that about anything, though. No. But allowing f4, I mean, I think the thing is here, the f4 isn't automatic, but allowing white f4 may not be, maybe we can't. You know, I think this f4 it's not as much like an aggressive move as it is like preventing. We don't have to play f4 now, but we can't allow him to play f4. I think that's really the problem, you know, ultimately. That's just not okay. It looks like an aggressive move, but the key is like, if he plays f4, then it's a total Mexican standoff. You know, we don't have more space. We have less space. This is forced. Okay, f3. Another way of saying it's automatic. Yeah, and then f3. Well, you can't blame the guy for playing f3. It's the freaking most logical move on the board, except if you take the time to really look at the position and see knight d2. And knight d2 holds. It doesn't weaken white's kingside on the dark squares. So knight d2 is probably automatic too. This is bad. Now he has tragic weaknesses on the dark squares. Bishop h4. Bishop h4 is nice. It's also not the only move. I'm not convinced about bishop h4. I'm a big believer in fundamentals and development, and I think there's more than one option here. But are we gonna really kill him directly? Maybe we are. Maybe it's good. Maybe it's like brutal forced crushing. Mr. Slow would like this. Bishop h4, bishop g3, queen h4, bishop takes h3. Yeah, I'm sure of. Okay, I buy it. I'll buy it. We don't need him to stinking queen e8. I mean, that's too slow. We're going direct. Direct flight to h4 probably. I mean, you might actually be threatening bishop takes h3 already. No? Which brings up another question. Does this work? That's probably a step too far. You know, Uber Driver here has a comment. Black never had it so good in the King's Indian. You know what? This is more like a... It's more like a Sveshnikov Uber Driver, because the problem is, I hate to break it to you, but it's not a King's Indian. You know, in order for this to be a King's Indian, white would have to play c4. So I think, yeah, black never had it this good in one of those knight d5 Sveshnikovs is a more appropriate claim. The problem with the King's Indian is that, c4 is another white square pawn move. Now we have 7 pawns on the white squares. And naturally, like, when you play... Like, that's why the Pierce isn't as good as the King's Indian, for example, for black. In the King's Indian, white has another pawn on white square, and the dark squares tend to be weaker. It's even worse in a lot of cases. Here he hasn't played c4 at least, although it doesn't help him much. He could play c3 and control the d4 square. It's not going to make a difference in the grand scheme of things. But I was honestly looking at this, diagonal. White's only hope is playing like knight to e4, trying to blockade. He got cut off. But I mean, with an open e-file, by the way, it's not like White's king is going to run away somewhere. So he's totally dead. Yeah, bishop h4 is crushing. But I think now, this must be worth a shot, right? I mean, there's no defense to that. He did it. I didn't look at the, guys, you do realize this. I do not look at the game score in advance. I did not think that Uber Driver would do this. Wow. I honestly thought Uber Driver would be, the bishop g3, kind of like smother you, like Lotso the bear. I'm a hugger from Toy Story. Just hug her. I mean, this is a different way of doing it, I mean, this is like, you're not getting out, you're not going anywhere. My favorite reference, of course, to The Shining. Wendy? 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 You're not going anywhere. I sounded more like Jim Carrey there. I need to work on it, but I'm a little bit sick. Wendy? Wendy? Wendy, you're not going... Give me that baseball bat, Wendy. I haven't done my Jack Nicholson in a while. Give me the bat. Wendy, give me the bat. You're not going anywhere. That's another method. I expected Uber Driver to do... I didn't expect Uber Driver to do the fancy sacrifice line. But no. At this point, White's best move is probably like rook f2 or something. Maybe like only move. Yeah. I mean, rook f2, it's got to be a rook move. Either rook f2. My favorite variation is king h2, bishop g3 check. Mr. Slow would agree. Takes, queen h4. That's definitely the best way to do this. But I think, like, if you actually don't want to lose, your best bet is probably rook f2. With a close second, yeah. Rook e1 not as good because you don't have any queen moves. It's got to be rook f2. Pray the guy takes the exchange, and somehow you can survive because you can defend like bishop f1 or queen f1, or maybe flag him. But this is like, forget it, dude. It's all over. Check. And queen g3. Now, how much resistance can you put up here? What are you going to do? Rook f2. What are you going to do? You got to do this. Check. And then I'm assuming like there's just a deadly rook lift. There's also bishop g3. But again, there's no coastal evacuation route. Uber Driver was having fun with this game, though. He was having fun with this guy. This is funny. Oh, your only defensive piece. Okay. Why don't you take a rook with it? Check. And then take a g-pawn. And then I'll introduce you to the g file. I'm sure not the only way to win. I think it's a case of like, you're planning on playing rook f6, and you realize, I can play it anyway. so why not? You could also play rook here. And I think maybe an interesting method of winning would be like rook f5. I mean, this is pretty aesthetic too, right? Rook f5, rook h5. Gotta be winning. Yeah. So what's the computer vote for? Ah. Rook f6 is a hacker move, dude. I showed up Uber Driver again. Rook f6 is for amateurs. It's for amateurs, man. Rook f5 is a class move. Rook f5, rook h5. This is just hacker move. Takes, and now, oh no. You know, you can't give the guy a question mark for playing bishop takes f4. Like, what is he supposed to do? Only other option, rook f2. Ask a stupid question, you know, get a stupid answer. I mean, the only other option is to play rook f2 or queen d4 with the idea of rook f2. You know, but it's got to involve rook f2. But this guy, you can't give the guy a double question mark for playing what looks like one of the only legitimate moves. And now king h8. Now why is it Uber Driver plays king h8, but I want to play king f7? What does that say about our personalities? Just saying. This is safer. And then, yeah, bishop h2. Oof. It's a little late for rook f2 now. So that's why rook f2 is better. After takes, you got to play rook f2, and you're still going to lose. I just take it. You could probably, like, nah, it's bad. It's bad, you're still stuck. Like, check king f1. You're not getting away. Again, it's like Wendy. Wendy! Hey, Wendy! Put down the bat. Wendy, put down the bat. You're not going anywhere, Wendy. Hey, Wendy! Check out. I gotta practice. You're like, is this guy crazy? Put it down, Wendy, put down the bat. Check out the snowcat, Wendy. You just get mated if you try. You can't do anything. It's over, man. Here's Johnny. I love it. So g takes f6. Bishop takes f4. Okay. Shelley Duvall died, sadly, not long ago, right? Like 6 months ago? When was it? She died. In the last 8 months. Okay. She had almost quit acting completely, but I think she did some theater, maybe. She had just gotten back a little bit. She had mental... Imagine that! Shelley Duvall had mental health. She was playing a crazy woman. Alright. So here, g takes f, bishop f4, king h8, king h2, blah blah blah. Alright, game over. Here's Johnny! Anyway, Uber Driver, you made your point. You made your point, dude. Very nice. You hacked that baby into little pieces. But this move I don't understand. It's like, what is wrong with people? Like, they don't understand that they can move their knight to c3. I'll tell you what. If I play this position 100 games of blitz on lichess and my opponents are under 2,000, I'll get, like, I guess 60% bishop d3 and only like 25% knight c3, and then 10% e5. So let's check it out. Lichess Opening Explorer. Wow, that's not my experience. Yeah, this is bullshit. I mean, this is only like with higher rated players. Let me change the parameters. No 2,000, no 2,200, no 2,500. Hello. Average rating. Why can't I get rid of the 2,500? Okay. Yeah, just 1,800 and below. And then, yeah. All right, all set. Still, I don't believe it. That's not true, man. I mean, most people play bishop d3. And why? Why are they so hung up on playing bishop d3? It drives me crazy. It's like this. If I play the Sicilian, I get bishop c4 every game. What's up, chess lover and ray gun? If you don't get bishop c4, you get knight f3, and then bishop c4 on move 3. And it's the same thing here. If you do e4, d6, there's a pause. If they don't play knight f3, then they play d4, and you play knight f6, their pawn's attacked. And Feingold told them not to play f3, so they're like, oh, I'll play bishop d3. Did they ever hear about the expression, knights before bishops? No? This is a statistical lie. It says here that on lichess, 9 million people played knight c3 under 2,000. I've got it set for under 2,000. 9 million games with knight c3, and only 2.3 million games with bishop d3. In reality, it's like more bishop d3 than knight c3. It's ridiculous. This is such a stupid move. Your bishop is blocked by your own pawns. It's not as good as knight c3. Knight c3 is better. And then my favorite move, e5. I bet Uber Driver gets this. Yesterday I had a game where some beginner played e5 against me, and I'm so bored with like taking here and trading queens and going into this like better endgame that I actually was sitting there thinking about like what other moves I could play after e5. And I realized, hey, I could transpose to the Aliakin's defense. But I was seriously considering doing this because I was just bored. Out of sheer boredom, I'll just play knight d7. Like Fries Nielsen, the crazy Danish I am, who I'd like to meet one day because we have a lot in common. But anyway, alright guys, so Uber Driver's point is that he believes in the Philidor. But my argument is that that's too classical, and the best move here is a6. In reality, the truth is probably g6. But there's a lot of theory in the Peertz defense. And the Peertz isn't really trustworthy either. So ultimately the Kraken, my pet opening, I believe it's better than the Czech defense with c6. So anyway guys, it was nice knowing you. I'm going to be back tomorrow, Friday, Blitz challenges with the Master. And I appreciate your subscribing and the amount of support we had today, bringing us up to 1606 for Porto Santo. 7 weeks until I get another chance to play chess in a good tournament at the World Senior in Porto Santo Island in Portugal. World Senior Individual Championship, November 17th to the 28th. So I'm psyched. Anyway guys, thanks for watching. We'll see you all tomorrow. Bye.